and pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. We extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples listening.
AFL. What a stage. This game is coming to life.
The 2023 AFL Premiership season.
The Roar will tell you the story. Fans are on their feet.
This game is electric.
Holds his arms out wide and tells them to get excited.
Oh, the home fans like that. What a game. It's got everything. On the run. It's happening again. It's a whole new game.
Cause here it comes, here it comes.
One bounce at 60, one bounce at 40, one bounce at 20, and he goes.
He plays on from 52 out. The package bangs it through.
Something big is coming, something big is coming.
On the left boot, he's welcome to the big time moment.
Something big is coming, something big is coming.
Turn steady, go.
Something big is
The
coming.
2023 AFL Premiership season.
Durham to win it. Goal.
Fill your lungs, are you ready for it?
Gets onto it, and away it goes.
Tapped it twice with his left hand. Gathered in the right forward pocket. That is brilliant.
Here they come.
That's class.
Oh, he's a star. What a game.
Brilliant.
He kicks, he goes.
This kid is going places.
Hand pass to Sarong. Sarong pulls the trigger. Boom.
Rioli with some magic. The check side finish. He seizes the moment. Curls it around. What about that?
Hand pass to Elliott, back to Hill. Superb finish.
55 out. He's given this plenty. That's a magnificent strike of the football.
He dribbles it along the ground for an incredible goal.
Grimes goes long. Bolton. High altitude fly from Showbolt.
Snap from 35, and boy does he love it.
Good for Humphrey. Here's Humphrey to put the Suns 8 points clear.
To take the lead. It never looked like missing.
Grandstand AFL
On ABC Radio
Sport Digital.
and now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app. Just look for the AFL button.
Something big is coming, I know.
Hello and welcome to Sunday afternoon footy at the MCG on ABC Sport. The penultimate round of the home and away season, where the Demons need just one win to lock in a top four spot, but Hawthorn will be looking to continue their giant killing run with wins over Collingwood and the Western Bulldogs in the last 2 weeks, proving they are no easy beats. Matt Clinch with you for ABC Sport. For the first time in 5 years, the Breast Cancer Network Australia, their Field of Women has taken place at the MCG, so over 10,000 fans walked out onto the hallowed turf in the shape of a pink lady paying tribute to those diagnosed and raising awareness of the impacts of breast cancer. There is a late change to the Hawks with, unfortunately, Jai Newcomb off the back of such a great game against the Western Bulldogs out with a hamstring tightness, and Henry Huswaite will make his debut for the Hawks this afternoon. Josh Shackey is the sub for the Demons alongside Jai Sarong. It is a reminder with 2 rounds to go that it's a marathon, not a sprint. Unfortunately, Corbin Middlemass is out this weekend through sickness, so it's a great pleasure to have Chris Rowbottom alongside me to call the action once more. Welcome, Chris.
G'day, Clinchy. Good to be here once again for a game that maybe a few weeks ago wouldn't have received the billing that it gets today, but the Hawks, given the form they're in and the stakes on the line for the Demons, makes this one pretty interesting. They're the ultimate banana peel team at the moment, aren't they, the Hawks? If you're a top 4 team or a team gunning for finals, they may be the team that you don't want to play given the quality of footy they are playing at the minute.
And hasn't it been a big 24 hours with no shortage of controversy around the goal that wasn't paid, and the AFL coming out and admitting that the goal umpire made a mistake. Unfortunately, it would have put Adelaide up with 80 seconds to go. And great to hear from so many of you on the Footy Forum, so you can stay in touch with us, 0437 774 774. We heard from 300 gamer Carlton champion Mark Murphy on Grandstand AFL Sunday. Welcome again to you, Murph.
Yes, thanks. Good to be here. Beautiful day here at the MCG, so looking forward to seeing if Hawthorn can continue on their merry way. They've been really impressive over the past month of footy, and Melbourne coming off that big clash last week against Carlton, which was really physical. So we saw the effects maybe it had on Carlton yesterday at the start of their game. Who knows if it does something similar to Melbourne here today.
And as he always is, our number one draft picks is here. Brett Delidio, the two-time Jack Dyer medalist, two-time All-Australian. Welcome to you, Lids.
Yeah, thanks, Clinchy. And disappointing Corby's not here. Not sickness, out with embarrassment after the Bombers got absolutely panched yesterday. So cheerio, Corb, mate. We know why you're really not here. But Fantastic day for footy. These are, it's finals knocking on the door when you turn, you come out of the house and you see the sun shining. It's the weather's starting to turn a little bit for us, but yeah, these certainly wouldn't want to just expect that it's going to happen here today. Otherwise, they could find themselves on the other end. But John Newcombe, that's a huge out. I was looking forward to watching him play because I reckon himself and Will Day and Warple in there in the midfield can really go head-to-head hard with the Melbourne midfield, but not to be. But out goes Newcombe, in comes another soldier. So we hopefully we can see. I think it's Huswaite who's come into the side, is it? Young bloke. I watched him play a fair bit last year, so finally gets his chance to have a crack at it and see what he's made of.
So Henry Huswaite will make his debut. Mitch Lewis from the Hawks is going to come by for a chat, so I'll ask him a bit about what to expect this afternoon. And Hawthorn's incredible run over the last couple of weeks, and the indication that Sam Mitchell might be turning this side around quicker than what was expected. Keen to get your thoughts, Lids, on the events of last night. How did you see it? I mean, the disappointment from Adelaide fans, it must be said that they've taken it particularly well, even though the club has issued a statement. But Murph and I were just chatting. Imagine if it was Collingwood or Carlton here at the MCG, and the outrage around the technology not being used.
I couldn't believe it, to be honest, that a game with everything that's happened so far and all the noise that comes with, being, goal reviews and the arc and the snicko and all the stuff we've got, to not even access that when it is so close just baffles me. For an umpire who's been, 15 years in the system, for him not to at least go upstairs and have a look at it. Good on him for backing himself, but you've made the wrong call. You've jumped on the wrong horse. So I don't know how he's... he'd be feeling terrible this morning, absolutely no doubt, and he's not going to play another part in this season, but I don't think that makes Adelaide fans or players, people, feel any better whatsoever.
So Adelaide's finals dream turns into a nightmare, really, Murph, and there's not really any way they could do with so much time still remaining on the clock. 80 seconds is, what can you do?
No, you can't do much.
No,
you can't overturn it. There's just too much time left in the game. It would have been interesting, I was saying to you off air, Clinch, if there was 10 seconds to go. What would have been the recourse this morning from the AFL? Would they have overturned it? But I think they would have probably stayed with the same result, just basically blamed it on a human error, which it was. But I just sort of dumbfounded that it wasn't reviewed or even looked at, because even if there's any sort of doubt these days, umpire always just goes to the arc just to make sure. So
we check out of bounds on the full, to see whether that's a score, let alone. It's baffling. I don't think the AFL would ever overturn it, though, regardless of how much time was left on that clock, unless it was after the siren.
After the siren, I reckon they would.
Yeah, and that's the only time, though. But if there was time left on the clock, even if it was 5 seconds, they're never going to go end to end. I don't think they'd ever overturn that.
It's just such an embarrassing situation for the AFL. You look at other professional sports around the world, in the soccer, they're able to use the VAR at the next stoppage of play, and the doomsday scenario is, what if it kind of happens in a grand final? What if it decides a team's final's fate? And unfortunately, in this circumstance, and Gil McLachlan spoke this morning about providing the support to the goal umpire, who no doubt is feeling pretty ordinary. But my question is more around the governing body as to how they try and make sure that they don't have these issues in the future going forward.
Yeah, I look at more so the bigger picture with Adelaide. Like, it can mean so much for the development of, not only their players, their confidence for that, but Matty Nix he's fielded a lot of questions and, been bashed a little bit this year with, where are they at? Why aren't Adelaide? They've been good at home. They've gone on some runs, but then they've really struggled away from home. This could have been the thing that potentially set them up. Win that game. You're still knocking on the door of finals, and there's no guarantee they're going to make finals. But what about the potential sponsorships, all sorts of things? This could cost them a lot of money.
We're also keeping a close eye across Docklands, because it's incredible with 4 teams trying to fit into 3 spots in the bottom half of the 8. So the West Coast Eagles booted the first 3 goals against the Western Bulldogs. 5 of the first 6 goals of the match. They led by 13 points at quarter time. They lead by 11 points at halftime, and so much speculation around Adam Simpson, whether they'll make the call on him. All of a sudden they've come out fired out of the gates, and Luke Beveridge all of a sudden is finding himself in a position where they felt like their list was a lot better than the footy they're playing at this time of the season.
Yeah, well, I think it's more concerning for the Dogs than it is the Eagles here at the moment. Like, we know how bad the Eagles have been, so yeah, I'd be really concerned that, and I'm not saying that they're not going to win by any stretch, because what did West Coast give up last week? Like 15 or 16 unanswered goals or something like that. So, the Dogs are obviously just in second gear, but it usually falls to too few. Marcus Bontempelli will just have 20 and kick a couple in this last half, and away they go probably.
Well, they're going to need him to, but what I do love about this time of year is seeing the live ladder and just seeing what games impact other games, and luckily enough for all football followers, we get to see that next week as well with Carlton and GWS at 6 o'clock on a Sunday. Who would have thought we'll all be hanging around waiting for that one to eventuate? But it's still going to come down to that last game about who plays in September. So it's an exciting time of year. I love seeing the live letters pending on games, and you all hang on off the end of your seat, don't you?
Well, I'm flat though, because I wanted Carlton to be on the edge too, like just on that knife's edge. But unfortunately, it's only the G-men that are really they need to win. But anyway, we'll see how that goes. But I don't get to jibe you a few times and see how we go.
So the way it stands, the Saints are in 6th position at the moment. They play Brisbane at the Gabba. The Swans are 7th. They take on Melbourne at the SCG. The GWS Giants in 8th position, as Lids touched on. The Blues at Docklands, the final match of the round, and the Western Bulldogs in 9th position. They obviously are hoping to win both of theirs, West Coast at the moment, and Geelong and Cardinia Park. So for any of those losses, you'll slide down the ladder, most likely outside of the 8, win, and you put yourself in a good position that you'll be there come the first week of the finals. So Saints have done a lot right. The Cats are pretty much done.
Yeah, I thought, after watching the Saints live last week, I thought they were every chance of beating the Cats, picked them, and as they went on to win comfortably, the scoreboard probably flattered the Cats, to be completely honest, with their inaccuracy. But yeah, they're going okay. They're defending incredibly well, but they're actually kicking scores and going forward.
Oh yeah, the Saints have had a really good 4 weeks. They played some really good football against Carlton that first half. We were all there watching, and we thought they were going to run away with that game. And Carlton, to their credit, played really well in that second half. Outside of that, St Kilda have been pretty impressive and offensively really sound as well, which is something that we've probably all questioned about whether or not they've got enough tools in the kit bag to score a big score. But they're certainly defending really well, which we have come to expect from a Ross Lyons side. But they've added that offensive element really well.
The voice of Mark Murphy alongside Brett Delidio, Matt Clinch and Chris Rowbottom to call the action with Ian Cohen down on the boundary. A man who would love to be out there on the MCG today is Hawks forward Mitch Lewis. He's been good enough to come and join us in the commentary box with his foot in a moon boot. Mitch, welcome to you. What's happened? Unfortunately, you've had some troubles this season, haven't you?
Yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for having me. Foot obviously in the boot at the moment, but it's actually feeling quite good to walk on. It's had some progress in the last couple of days, and still optimistic to return next week, which is good.
So the hope is to potentially play the last game of the home and away season, or are the club sort of starting to think maybe you prepare for 2024?
It is. I obviously still want to play, but I'm not naive enough to think that I still am in a moon boot. So game's in 6 days. Game's in 6 days. So I'll see. I'll try to get out of this moon boot maybe tomorrow morning and see how we go. But it's probably unlikely.
Surely the Hawks aren't risking their number one asset, are they, Clinchy?
I don't think so. But if Mitch has a say in it, maybe he'll be out there.
Yeah, the thing, I played 15 games last year, obviously with a few injuries, and I'm on 15 games this year as well. So I'm just trying to get a little PB in terms of games played in the season. But yeah, pretty unlikely at this stage.
Mitch, talk to us about your debutant today, Henry Huswaite. What's he going to bring to the side today?
Yeah, Huss, he's got the longest neck in Australia, I think. He's,
So what's his nickname then? Surely he's got a couple of good ones.
Yeah, he does, and he absolutely loves it as well. He gives it back to you. So he's a great kid. Pencil is a good one. But yeah, he's actually put on a lot of size since he first got to the footy club. He's really clean inside and a little bit like Scott Pendlebury, just thinks, he has a lot of time with the footy, especially in congestion. So look for him to get a hard ball inside and feed it to our outside runners.
Yeah. Mate, your forward lines looked a lot different this year. Like you obviously had yourself in and out a couple of times. Punky's Luke Bruce has been fantastic down there, kicked a lot of goals. What's the best mix today for you guys, and where are the goals going to come from?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Obviously, we've had Cozzy in Denver come in over the last sort of 4 to 6 weeks and play a role. We've got Max Ramsden in there today that'll do a bit of second ruck. So excited to see what those three tools can do together. But in saying that, we've still got Dylan Moore, Connor McDonald, Luke Bruce, as you say, who's been playing pretty much all year and playing some good footy. So look for the tools to bring it to ground, and then Punky and Morey to go to work.
And one of your assistant coaches, mate, right up there in the pecking order to go to the Tigers. Hopefully, Chrissy Newman I'm talking about. Give us a few bars on what he's like as a coach and his attributes and what he could potentially bring. And one will you miss him if he actually goes?
Yeah, bloody oath, I would miss him. As you know, I was a Tigers supporter growing up as well, so absolutely loved his work and your own work.
Thanks, I led you into that, didn't I?
Yeah. Just a perfect segue for that one, Lids. But yeah, he's been at the Hawthorn Footy Club since I first got there 7 years ago, and we've been through a lot together. He was my Box Hill coach when we won the flag, so he would be an absolute great inclusion to the Richmond Footy Club. Obviously there's a lot of history there with him and the club, and I think he would be a great man for the job, but he would be sorely missed at the Hawks for sure.
Mitch, you must be really buoyed by the way in which the side's gone, the development and the growth you've seen this year. What have you been most impressed about, not just from the playing group but also the coaching group led by Sam Mitchell?
Yeah, Mitch is he's really clear in what he expects of the group, and feel like he's really just growing the standards of the footy club, which is exactly what we needed as such a young group. I suppose I'm most excited about the progress of the younger guys. Like you've seen guys like Josh Weddle come in, and he's been seamless in his inclusion into the lineup, and Josh Ward, Cam McKenzie, the list goes on in terms of our high draft picks that have come in and played a really strong role for us. So, it's quite exciting what we can achieve in the next few years, I think.
Mitch Lewis is with you on ABC Sport. Great to have him up in the commentary box. So you've taken on Melbourne today. You've had 2 good wins against the Western Bulldogs and Collingwood in recent weeks. So it doesn't feel like a rebuilding side at the moment. It feels like you've been making some key strides in the last couple of weeks. What are the key indicators you look for today? Do we see Finn McGuinness go to someone like Christian Petrarca or Clayton Oliver?
I think I'll keep that under wraps until the first bounce, but Finn will have a role again today. I guess what we've struggled with this year is consistency. So the last 2 weeks we've been pretty good at being on the same page and producing a 4-quarter effort. So if we can do something along those lines today, I think it'll give us the best chance. When we came to the Collingwood game a couple of weeks ago, not many people gave us a chance, and I feel like it's pretty similar today, so we'll see what we can do.
And also the young guys. I mean, Connor Nash has had an incredible season. Have you been surprised that, Will Day playing behind the ball, some of the individual improvement alongside the collective for the team?
Yeah, I guess what I touched on before, that's what's so exciting. Like Connor Nash, he had never picked up a footy 8 years ago, and his development is absolutely amazing. And Will Day, I think everybody's seen that he's always going to be a star, but now that he's got his body right, he's put on a few extra kilos in the midfield, crossing over the half-back line. He can play so many different roles for us, and he's a really exciting one as well.
You've put your recruiting or list boss hat on, mate, for a minute. What do the Hawks need next year? 1 in the draft, or 2 chasing a player to bring into your club?
It's an interesting one. I think for me, I would love another consistent key forward that can, take some of the pressure off me up forward. Obviously, we've tried a few different things this year, but if there is a free agent out there that can take a load off my shoulders, that would be absolutely outstanding. So different avenues for us to score. We're always searching for ways to be more potent, especially in our front half. We want to be a front half team, so I think that would be our first point of call in the off-season.
I agree with that, absolutely.
Just on that, Mitch, it's the job for the list manager and the coaching staff and whatnot to go and find the right fit next to you, but how involved are you in that process of maybe having a look at the type of player who you'd like playing alongside you in the forward line?
To put it simply, not at all. I'm not involved at all. That's Mark McKenzie's job with the list manager, and I'm sure Sam Mitchell has a say in that as well, but I'll just stick to playing on that one.
And just in terms of missing today's game, and this probably goes for Jai as well, there must be an extra layer of frustration, I suppose, given the last 2 weeks, and it seems like you've played with a real freedom. The shackles have been off, and the 2 wins that you've had have looked genuinely fun to be part of.
Yeah, bloody oath. And we've always said that we're not playing finals this year, but we don't just want to limp to the finish line. We want to be really sprinting through. And 2 games to go in this season for us, but I feel like there's still a lot of improvements to be had for this young group. And who knows, big games like these against good opposition, it's going to be very good for us to experience that, in 2-3 years' time when hopefully we're playing finals footy.
A lot of the talk's been around the young midfield group and yourself and whatnot throughout the season, but what about Blake Hardwick down back? He seems to be one of these guys that about this time of year you start talking about all Australians and squads of 40 and whatnot. He never seems to get mentioned. Is he somebody that should be in that squad given the job that he does every week?
Another one that's not up for me to decide, but the value that we place on Blake Hardwick within our four walls, he's one of those guys that is so well respected in our footy club, and I think he should get more recognition from the outside world. He locks down the best small forward every week and doesn't complain, just goes about it in his own modest way. So, yeah, he's a really good player and a good person to have at our footy club.
Injured Hawk. Mitch Lewis is with us in the ABC commentary box. The first time in 5 years we've got the BCNA Pink Lady match. Was there any special activities down at the club during the week? Did you have any guest speakers in the lead up to this afternoon's match?
I'm not sure. I wasn't with the AFL program too much this week, but definitely a very important occasion, a good one. We've got Sophie Locke as in our AFLW program, whose mother passed away from breast cancer, and it's absolutely outstanding to have a day like this to support that cause.
And the golf, are you getting out and playing much, or not so much these days, obviously, with the foot in a moon boot?
Yeah, obviously the moon boot is stopping things on the golf front at the moment, but was getting out a fair bit, had the handicap at 1.8, I think.
Limpers. Surely that gets your brain rights, doesn't it, the Hawks?
At this stage, yes. Luke Bruce is... he thinks that he's on my level, but he's off about 5 or 6.
And still consistent.
Can't hit it over a jam tin, unfortunately, Luke. But, over the off-season, James Sicily has just become a member at the same golf club as me, so we'll be playing a lot of golf together.
I was going to say, your captain's pretty competitive, isn't he, when he comes to any sort of sport?
Yeah, absolutely. He always wants to play for cash, and
got lots of it.
Yeah, got lots of it. So he doesn't win it off me very often, but happy to take it off the young boys. So he preys on those sort of guys. Sam Butler's his bunny when it comes to the golf course.
What do you pride yourself on the golf course? I'm assuming you hit a fairly long ball, but is it your work off the tee, or your putting, or your short game?
Yeah, definitely not the short game. I try to be shots gained from tee to green, and try not to three-putt as soon as I have the flat stick in my hand.
Great to see you, Mitch. Thanks for coming up. Fingers crossed you get out next week. If not, look forward to seeing you bigger and better in 2024.
Thanks very much, guys. Cheers.
Injured Hawk Mitch Lewis joining us in the ABC commentary box ahead of Hawthorn and Melbourne this afternoon. There is unfortunately a late change with Jai Newcomb out for the Hawks, hamstring tightness, and we'll get to see a debutant. Henry Huswaite comes in for his first game, picked 37 in 2022 from Rosebud. He started in defence in the under-18s. He's moved into the midfield. We'll see him swinging onto that left foot. So
big
gets
pencil.
a chance to make his debut, the pencil.
Yeah, big brontosaurus, mate. He has got a very long neck, this young fella. So hopefully it stays on his head. Well, his head stays on the neck.
Sort of feels like chatting to any Hawthorn fans in the last couple of weeks. They're pretty upbeat about the direction in which the club's going. The players in which they've invested in, they made some big calls, obviously, with Jago O'Meara and Tom Mitchell, but it feels like it's all paid out in dividends for the moment. And as you said, Lids, now the big question as well, Murph, is who they sort of target in the off-season to try and improve this pretty impressive young list.
Yeah, they are upbeat, the Hawthorn fans, and so they should be. I remember speaking to quite a few of them earlier on in the year, and they would talk about they've had their glory days and maybe it's time for a few years down the bottom and working their way back up the top. But the narrative's certainly changed over the last 4 weeks. They've played some really good football and seeing some really explosiveness and offensive weapons in their side, and it's a really aggressive style of game they like to play, and it's great to watch, and their fans are really enjoying it. And Mitch Lewis, we've only seen him 15 games this year, but he's got leadership written all over him, doesn't he, Lids? He's a pretty impressive young man.
Yep.
But what do they need to bring in? Oh, they probably want of everything else, don't they? They probably want. He talks about having another key forward alongside him. But if you're a player who's out of contract or looking for a move, you're pretty excited if you're a forward, the way in which they move the football, Hawthorn. So you'd certainly be pretty keen to go there if you're a key target and play footy underneath Sam Mitchell. Yeah,
I just think it shows how impatient we are as a competition, but as a community as well. Everyone's like, oh, they're tanking. This is terrible. Sam Mitchell, he won't last the rebuild. Well, I think it just proves that smart people and good coaches, they do make it, and you can now see the proof in the pudding. It's a long season. Let's not jump ship too early and get carried away. I think it just goes to fly in the face of all those people that wrote them off early in the season and said that they were going to be in a horrific side. But yeah, they're enjoyable to watch, as you said. They're young players, and they play the game in the right manner. They take it on and have a crack. There was question marks over that during the start of the year or in the middle parts of the year when they were going for kicks that probably weren't there, but with confidence and more skill execution and training, they're hitting those kicks, which opens the game up and gives them better looks. And exactly right, what Mitch is saying. Like you move the ball quickly, it gives them great looks. And their leading goal kicker is Luke Bruce, who's a small forward. Imagine if they get Mitch out there with another key forward, like you're laughing going forward. So
it's a different method than what other sides have used in rebuilds, isn't it? Where they teach defence, and it's all about being really strong, sound in defence, and then the offensive side of the game comes at a later stage. But they've gone with the opposite approach and attacked in a manner that is good to watch, but also they learn how to defend from playing that quick ball movement as well. So it's been sort of chalk and cheese, hasn't it, from what we saw earlier in the year, and now the confidence that comes off probably the training together and understanding one another's game style as well from playing that style of football is been great to watch.
And 4 of their 7 wins have come against top 8 sides, so it suggests they're building the foundations nicely, that when they do get all the elements of their game together, they'll be able to beat the sides down the bottom of the ladder as they make their way up. At Docklands, the Bulldogs have hit the front. They're 8-8-56 to the West Coast Eagles 8-7-55. There is an ABC call of that game available if you're looking for it. You just have to download the ABC Listen app and click on the AFL Extra button. There's certain development coaches. You look at Hawthorn, they've obviously brought in Chris Newman, a good mate of yours, who's been there for a while, Andy Collins. For West Coast, the question around Adam Simpson, what direction does the board want to go? Do you look to bring in specific development coaches who are specialised in trying to fast-track the next generation of talent?
Well, I think that's what Melbourne's done here with Mark Williams, Choco. He's played a big part in the development of the young guys there. It's a very important role, having a senior figure to oversee, and then you've got to have your young guys underneath that are exuberant and enthusiastic to really get their hands dirty, probably pretty fresh out of the game, because you can relate and understand what the younger players are all about, but you can also do the craft work with them and teach them the fundamentals. So, I think it is somewhere where you need to really heavily invest is your development, and probably something when I was at the Tigers years ago it took a long time before you really started to see, and that was when Andrew McCulter started and Maxie Bailey, who's down here for the Hawks as well today, underneath Choco, and you started to see the real upward trend of performance. But for the Eagles, I don't actually know who's in their development crew over there at the moment. I know Drew Petrie's the welfare manager, I reckon, but other than that, I'm not 100% sure.
So we will wait and see. West Coast hoping to continue their fight in this match against the Western Bulldogs, but they have had matches where they've fallen away. On the SMS, 0437 774 774. If you want to let us know where you're listening in from, it's obviously a big day for Max Gawn as he plays his 200th game, the Premiership captain, alongside Alex Neil-Bullen, one of their heart and soul players who plays game 150. Stan for Victoria wants to know, I would like to ask the question of the boys, how do you think Ben Brown is going spirit-wise? Listening to all the talk around him at selection where Melbourne play must be taxing for him. It sort of feels like Ben Brown and Tom McDonald are potentially competing for the last spot in the forward line, with Harrison Petty ruled out for the rest of the season. Brodie Grundy has been overlooked. He played in the VFL today. So Melbourne are trying to get that best combination inside their forward 50.
Yeah, I can't imagine what Ben would be thinking at the moment. He probably thinks he's a million miles away from getting that opportunity, but I haven't been personally in this situation, but Adam Tomlinson's a good friend of mine who's playing here today, but he's had his moments this year where he's been in and out of the side and hasn't been the first selected defender. Obviously, Lever and May, Petty when he was playing down there. So I don't know what they sort of go through, but for Benny Brown, I think it's more of a, you just got to put up really good performances, and then if it's not working for you, what else are you bringing to the table? And that's where I think he's probably not in the side at the moment, because if it's not kicking goals, there's not a lot else in terms of defence.
Yeah, well, that's all he can control, isn't it, where he plays at VFL level, just to put out strong performances week by week and just see whether or not an opportunity arises. So they've obviously looked past him at this point in time and trying to look for different avenues towards goal, but he's always just been a lead-up market, kick another goal sort of type player. What's that old song about Tony Lockett? Yep. You need to try and add a few other little tricks to his resume. But can
you do that at his age? Do you reckon? He's got that in his kit bag to be able to go and reinvent?
Well, he's got to ask the questions about why he's not playing, which I'm sure he would be doing, and then
show
getting that feedback and then try and work on him as best you possibly can. But that's all you can really control.
So essentially, he's up against it, but you never know what can happen in that forward line. So. Yep. someone only has to get injured, a couple of bigger guys where you need that key target, especially in finals where it tends to be a bit more long down the line type game where you can just get a contest, bring it to ground and let your smalls go to work. So he's not out of it by any stretch, but he's got a fair journey ahead of him.
So there you go, Stan. In the VFL today, Casey got beaten by the Brisbane Lions by 2 points. Tom McDonald kicked 3 goals, had 14 disposals. It's been a good season for Luke Dunstan, who can't get a look in. 31 disposals and a couple of goals as well. And for Brodie Grundy, he had a little bit of the footy, but 12 disposals, didn't hit the scoreboard.
Yeah, he's not a forward then. He's not coming into play in that forward line. And I think Max has shown that he's better one out when he... just gets the number one mantle as the ruck, and they play better as a result of that. So, but what it has done is having Brodie play a lot of games this year has allowed Max to be really fresh and ready to go for the last part of this year. But, geez, I don't know if I'm Brodie whether I'm wanting to just play the minor games and then miss out when it comes time for the finals.
No, well, I think certainly with the sort of talent that he is, you can't just petter away off into the VFL for the rest of your career, can you? So whether or not he asks for another trade and get out of it and go somewhere where he's going to be the number one ruck, that's probably the only alternative at this point.
Yeah.
If either of you were in his shoes, would you go to Melbourne and say, look, this ain't working?
I'd be asking the question as to say, well, how do you see this working going forward? Because Max is going to be there for another 3 or 4 minimum, probably. And
what's obviously not working, and the selection shows that.
I'm not going to be a forward, so I've got to spend the whole summer practicing to try and be a forward. And if it doesn't work in the first 2 or 3 rounds, you're going to say, nah, mate, you're still in the twos. It'll be an opportunity missed for him to potentially explore it. But then the club's got to find the right suitor, and another club's got to be willing to pay that as well. So it's, I think we get too caught up in, we don't want the movement and you got to stay loyal to your club and whatever else. Go where the opportunity is.
Yeah,
I think he should. There's not an opportunity for him at Melbourne. Well, I want to play. I think I'm good enough to play, which he is. But it's just not at Melbourne because Max Gawn's the number one ruckman in the comp.
You'd think that both parties would shake hands and go, yeah, it hasn't worked. We've got our number one ruckman and skipper in Max Gawn, and there's an opportunity somewhere else. I'm just going to go take it. All the best.
Yeah.
So how does that work from a
financial point of view?
Financial side of things, if say they strike a deal with Port Adelaide or the Sydney Swans have been looking for a ruckman, even the Cats, would they have to renegotiate his salary given it would be going to a third club? Or
well, 3 clubs can't pay you, so Collingwood then off the hook, and then it becomes Melbourne and the next club's bill to pay, so to speak. But I don't know the ins and outs of that.
If you're Port Adelaide, you'd be crazy not to get in his ear and say, we've got Connor Rosie, Zach Butters, Jason Horne-Francis. We've got a pretty good midfield that you'd be rucking to for the next 5 years. We just need you to get to your best level.
Well, then how do you facilitate that, though? Because we know Port Adelaide gave up quite a bit last year to get Horne-Francis in. What have they got to offer up to Melbourne to say, we'll take it? Because he's contracted. He can't just walk there.
Would a future first-round pick do the job?
Probably. I don't know. Is he worth a future first?
You'd want more than a second-round pick, wouldn't you?
You probably would. Melbourne would, definitely. They'll be asking for that. They've already got Frios coming in, so geez, they package all that up and they'd be offering it straight to West Coast for the number one pick.
And if you're West Coast, you've probably got to consider that, don't you? The notion of having 3 picks, or certainly 2 instead of 1.
Yep.
If Harley Reid was open to the idea of staying in Victoria rather than going to Western Australia, and potentially you could turn it into a win-win.
Oh, exactly right. But that's all to play out in front of us, isn't it? But that's the beauty of Trade Week, and I think that's why all those programs and that are running during that time, everyone's just glued to them because they can't wait for the next bomb to drop. But yeah, she's pretty stressful for the players that are in it. Trust me, I've been through it. It's a long time between the end of the footy season, round 23 or 24, whatever it is this year, and Trade Week. It's a long time through those finals.
You can see the low ball offers coming in, though, can't you, for Grundy? Because other clubs would be looking at the situation saying, well, it's Melbourne's problem to solve.
Yes.
And we don't need to offer top dollar or top compensation to get Brodie Grundy across, because Melbourne almost need to trade him, and they'll have to maybe take whatever they can get.
Well, that and then it's salary as well that they can then look to offload to then potentially bring in someone else, or that we already know that Oliver and Petrarca are on big long-term deals. So I don't know where May's at in terms of his contract. Will he be out at the end of this year, end of next year probably?
Until 2025.
Oh, until 20, yeah. And Lever would be about the same, I assume. But look, they're, I It's in Melbourne's court, essentially, you'd imagine. But Brodie's also got to be willing to, one, not back himself, and two, want that trade.
It's going to be interesting. The thoughts of Brett Delidio and Mark Murphy with you on ABC Sport. Matt Clinch and Chris Rowbottom to call the action with Ian Cohen down on the boundary. There is a late change with Jai Newcomb out for the Hawks, some hamstring tightness, so his has been ruled out in the pre-match, and Henry Huswaite comes in for his first game. The 19-year-old, 195 centimetres, 84 kilos in his first year, picked 37 in 2022 from Rosebud, so he'll get the opportunity this afternoon. Pencil neck, as we learnt from Mitch Lewis this afternoon. That. So, for the Demons, Josh Shackey will be their sub this afternoon. And for the Hawks, it's young Jai Sarong who gets the opportunities this afternoon. So the Hawks not too far away from running out through their banner, and the Demons will be a few moments away. We'll get some thoughts from Brett Delidio on Max Gawn, the Melbourne captain, who celebrates his 200th game. But we can head down on the boundary. Ian Cohen's caught up with one of Melbourne's assistant coaches, Adam Uze.
Thanks very much, Matt. Adam Uze has been kind enough to join us on the boundary line. Uze, it's a fantastic day for football, and there's a few different September scenarios opening up for the Demons.
Yeah, it's a funny one. I think the next 2 weeks you're going to be looking at the ladder predictor the whole way through. So, it's exciting. That's what we want. We wanted a tight competition, and that's what we're getting. So, our boys know what's up for grabs. We win a game, we're in the top four, but we're hoping to finish as high as we can. So, just hoping we can get out today and a really strong performance in front of our crowd.
There's been a bit of off-field noise around the club, obviously, this week. What's it been like inside the four walls?
No, it's been terrific. So, last week was a tough loss. We thought we played the right way. And it was just a flip of the coin at the end. So, we've moved on pretty quickly. We know what's up, what we're up against today. Hawthorn's in really good form, so we can't wait to get started.
Bailey Laurie, tell us a little bit about him. He gets an opportunity.
Yeah, he's a kid that's been in awesome form for 20 weeks. He played round one, a really clever high half forward. So he'll come and fill that role for us, and because he is in good form at VFL level, we expect that he can just walk in and do what he can do out on at AFL level in a big crowd, in front of a big crowd at the MCG. So I'm really excited for him. So it was tight for selection this week, but we've gone that way, and hopefully he can hit the scoreboard for us and show what he can do.
And on a celebratory note, Max Gawn, obviously 200. He's had 99 wins, 99 losses and one draw, which was actually against Hawthorn. So which way is he hoping for the coin to come up at the toss?
Yeah, well, no doubt. They spoke about that draw the other day. So, and to be fair, Alex Neil-Bullen's 150th today as well. So he's a heart and soul of our footy club. And then obviously we've got the leader of our footy club that has transitioned our club into a talented team, into a hopefully really strong team for a long time. So, hopefully he leads by example today, no doubt. And nice conditions for him. Hopefully he takes a few big grabs for us as well.
On the other side of that, though, is the Brodie Grundy experiment. Where is that sitting at the moment? 1 week in, back out again. What's the thinking there?
Yeah, well, we're just going to go with the smaller forward line. So, he did what he could last week. And to be fair, his ruck work was terrific. So we know, if there's any issues with Gorney, or if anything is coming up during the season, or even in finals where we feel like we need some support around stoppage, we know that he's available. And today he's playing some good footy down at Casey. So, he's in a good headspace. He knows where it all sits. But today we just want some speed in front of the ball, and we'll see how that goes.
But the paper's been marked now sort of in case of emergency break glass, rather than necessarily being in and part of the team in a regular fashion running into the finals.
Yeah, well, I think more for our front end it does. But like I said, we know what he can do when he plays ruck. So there's no reason why we can't play two ruckmen. And we might be able to manipulate some bench time for him. So some teams are doing that right now. Mason Cox was sub on the weekend. So things like that we've got to be really mindful and open to. So, but right now we're looking for a smaller forward line, bit more dynamic front end.
Finn McGuinness for Hawks obviously burst onto the scene with his job on Dacos. Where are you expecting him to go today?
Yeah, well, my old mate Mitch, I heard apparently on the radio, he mentioned about 8 different players and didn't give too much away. But in the end, he's going to go to someone. So it's going to be a tough day if he tags at half forward and plays on Christian Salem. We'll have to expose it different ways. So, and to be fair, we might try and shut one of their midfielders out as well. So, I used to get tagged as a player, and it can be a tough day. But in the end, hopefully we can manipulate what he's doing, and as a team, we expose it that way. So, he's in some good form, Finn. He's found a nice little spot for him, so it's good to see.
You know the Hawks so well. What are you expecting today? And we know it's going to be a tough battle, no doubt about that. But structurally, what are you expecting today? And obviously in terms of the likes of Finn McGuinness, where are they going to go?
Yeah, well, right now in the last 6 or 7 weeks, they're a top 4 offence, so they love getting the ball into the corridor. They've got some really potent kicks out of their back end. They all can bite off that really tough kick inside the corridor. So we expect them to play high risk on offence, and which is a good thing. It's going to test our defence going into the finals, and we believe we've got one of the best defences or team defences in the comp. And today it's going to get tested by a really strong offence. So we're looking forward to that. We're going to embrace the corridor, and hopefully they try and bite a few too many and we can get some scores on the board on the back end of that. But it should be, as I said, they're in good form and we can't wait.
Thanks for spending some time with ABC Grandstand, Adam.
No worries, anytime.
Thanks, Kozer, and great to hear from Adam House as the Demons make their way out onto the MCG, led by their captain Max Gawn in game 200 with young George as he made his way through the banner. And also a special occasion for Alex Neil-Bullen, who celebrates game 150 for the Demons. Matt Clinch and Chris Rowbottom to call the action. Mark Murphy and Brett Delidio are your experts. So for Max Gawn, you want to jump in?
Sorry, just in case you forgot, Adam Uze was a good player. He got tagged. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mind that.
Did prick the ears, didn't it?
Knows a thing or two about having some close attention. For Max Gawn, I mean, his path to the AFL lead, he kind of joked about missing training sessions and being late to training sessions. The famous story about having a cigarette in the car and now being amongst the AFL's all-time elite in terms of his ruck craft. You would have watched on and smiled at some of the tributes that have come through this week leads to his milestone week.
Yeah, look, and I'm lucky enough to be in the management company that looks after the Maxi, and I've never met anyone who's so universally loved. Like, there's hardly a person that says a bad word about Maxi. Everyone wants a piece of him, and he gives everyone the time of day as well. Like, here's so many stories, emails that we get of him spending more and more time with, at Auskick clinics, and waits until everyone's got their signature and everyone's had a photo. He doesn't just rush off. He really gives back to all the D supporters, but anyone really, because everyone just wants to be able to talk and say they've had a photo with Max. But geez, he's a lovable character, but a funny bugger as well, And I think having young George, his beautiful wife Jess, they're I think they're going really well, which is awesome. But he's been a damn good player for a long time. Six All Australians, 2 best and fairest, 3 best and fairest. Can't remember.
A couple of best and fairest.
Quite a few seconds and thirds in there as well. So I've been on the podium quite a bit, but he's just getting started essentially. Really, when he's only played 200, you feel like he can be around for another 4 or 5 years comfortably.
Yeah, he sort of joked you compare him with like Patrick Dangerfield, who's 32 years of age, and he's just ticked off 300 games last season. So, Max would feel like he had a couple of ACLs, and really his first 3 years were hampered. I think he played 50 VFL games as well. So
yeah, he had a lot to learn in his early years. Admittedly, what he would admit himself. He was a long way back, boy from Ormond, and.
I think that's why everyone just loves him, don't they? Because of where he's come from and how hard he had to do it initially in his career, doing a couple of knees and smoking a dart on the way to training. I think everyone's just sort of enjoyed that storyline, and then just see him become probably arguably the best ever Melbourne player of all time. So he'd certainly be right up there, and he's obviously going to be a future Hall of Famer. Been an absolute champion of the game, and I think everyone just loves watching him play.
And you think about so far away from what a captain would have been in old day footy, Murph, and him really making it his own and bringing his own unique style, and the first Melbourne Premiership captain to hold the Premiership couple off since the famous Ron Barassi.
Even just like people talking about him when he first got the captaincy, he came with that mohawk that was peroxide. He just does things his own way, and I think everyone just loves it.
Well, that was in COVID too, wasn't it? Where everyone's having a bit of you're looking for ways to get yourself up. Some old school report, old school commentators, old players oh, geez, you're the captain, you can't be doing that. Why not? Why can't you be your own person? He is that 100%. Love it.
He's had some unique looks over the years. That must be sure. The Melbourne number 11, Max Gawn. 3/4 time at Docklands. The Western Bulldogs are in front, 10-10-70 to the West Coast Eagles, 9-7-61. So after the Eagles led at quarter time, they kicked the first 3 goals of the match, 5 of the first 6 by 13 points at quarter time. West Coast by 11 at half time. The Bulldogs lead by 9 points at 3/4 time. We'll keep you across that match before we take you to the final match of the round. The Fremantle Dockers taking on Port Adelaide from Perth, and so many calculations as we head into the final round of the home and away season, with just about every match having something on the line for who can finish in what position. So Murph and Lids, as you take us through the pre-game and a couple of the areas in which you're looking for in the preview, the obvious question that was asked around Finn McGuinness, would you send him towards Clayton Oliver? Would you look at someone like Ed Langdon or a Jack Viney? How do you think Hawthorn will look to impose their gun tagger?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's a number of blokes you could probably go to be honest with you. There's probably maybe 4 or 5, whether or not he tags off a half-forward flank and go to Salem like Adam Uze said before. But I think he goes to Clayton Oliver in the guts. I think he's their key in there. I think Christian Petrarch will probably play a little bit more forward today. So I think that's a matchup that will be pretty constant, where Clayton Oliver, you know that he's going to be playing in around the guts every time he's on the ground, so you just have Finn McGuinness there, so you're not getting pulled around too much by whoever he does want to tag. But it'll be interesting to see if he can get another big scalp, because he's got quite a few this year, Lids.
Well, I think the difference between someone like a Nick Dacos versus a Clayton Oliver is Clayton's a much more contested ball winner, and he'll hunt it, and he's harder to stop. I don't see, like, if he starts at half forward and tries to shut out a Christian Salmon, I'm not sure that really changes the result in the game as much. I don't think Christian Salem's a really damaging half-back. He chips in, and if he gets free rein, he can have really big games, but I don't think he changes the course of the D's and how they play as much as someone like a Clayton Oliver or a Christian Petrarca would. Viney, I think he's more just your bull, where you sort of allow him to get it, but he might give it back to you a little bit at times as well. So I agree with you. I think it probably is a Clayton Oliver. I think their wings are just their role players. You know, I don't think they're, like, we've seen Ed Langdon be tagged before, but I don't think he's the one.
I don't think they cut you up as much as what a Clayton Oliver would do. And I just think he's a constant around the ball. He hunts the footy, and McGuinness will just play on him everywhere he goes.
So do you need to start at half forward and come in and get him, do you think, or do you give up that one spot where you're trying to stop him, go to woe and inside the centre bounce everywhere?
I'd put him everywhere. I think Max Gawn in the centre of the ground, putting it on a silver platter for a Clayton Oliver is very dangerous. So that's the main spot you want to stop him, is getting first use out of a centre square bounce.
And we both know that you're getting tagged, you get a couple of early touches, you feel like you're ready to go, and it doesn't matter who's playing on you. But if someone's coming to you from half forward, you're like, oh, I've got 50 metres on him already. And if it goes the other way, you're just charging. You know, or he gets caught in going inside with the forward 50, and you can just sneak out for a little cheap, easy one.
Yeah, I think sometimes there's too many moving parts for when a tagger's got a job, and especially on a young side like Hawthorn, you want to keep it pretty simple. So I just think Clayton will definitely not going to play at a half or flank or on a wing or anything like that. He's playing around the ball in the stoppages.
If not there, then he's on the bench.
Correct. So you go with him absolutely everywhere.
He had 27 disposals, a game high, 10 clearances, 13 tackles and 4 inside 50s in his first game back, Clayton Oliver, against the Blues. So
he'll be better second up. And that's the thing, 10 clearances is like, well, you've got to try and stop that, don't you?
Yeah.
He also had 34-1 in round 9 when Melbourne defeated Hawthorn here at the MCG, so he probably will be the go-to. Although Finn McGuinness has gone to Ed Langdon on previous occasions when they've played Melbourne, so
that's a waste. If you ask me,
it hasn't impacted the result though. So
I just think that's you're shutting out at one wing, and that's all it is. But I don't think you're shutting out the result. Whereas if you go in the middle and try and stop the source, which is essentially Clayton Oliver inside, then you're not halfway there by any stretch, but you're getting a part of the way.
The Demons have won their last 6 against the Hawks. They did have a draw back in 2021. And obviously haven't lost to the Hawks since 2018. You mentioned that game, Chris. In round 9, the Demons prevailed by 54 points. They kicked 5 goals to 1 in the opening quarter. Clayton Oliver finished with 34 disposals, Jack Viney with 31, and Christian Petrarca with 30. Ian Cohen sitting in the front row of the grandstand this afternoon. Welcome again to you, Koza.
Thanks very much, Clinchy. Well, it's an early win for the Melbourne Milestone men in terms of Alex Neil-Bullen and Max Gawn. They won the toss against James Sicily. Melbourne will kick to the right-hand end of your ABC Grandstand Radio, the city end. The subs are Josh Shackey for the Demons and Joe Sarong for Hawthorn. And great to see the breast cancer network awareness and the pink lady out there, especially for our family. My bride was diagnosed by some smart people and some smart surgeons and operated on 3 years ago. So not out of the woods yet, but certainly personal, and our thoughts go out to everyone who's impacted by that. I've got my pink beanie on.
Yeah, well said, Koza. You've got the pink beanie, and that's the accessory of the day as we look around the MCG. So the Demons looking to lock up a spot inside the top 4. There is the potential if they win their next 2, they could jump as high as 2nd if Brisbane and Port Adelaide both lose. And the Hawks, they're looking to continue their charge after winning their last 2 matches. Can they take down another September challenger? It's round 23 of the AFL. Melbourne and Hawthorn to get us underway. Here's Chris Rowbottom.
Up it goes, Reeves and Gawn, and it was Gawn who won the tap. Pickett flashed through for the D's, but it was Connor Nash with the first clearance of the game for the Hawks. Inside 50 they go. Kaczynski bounced off his chest, but at the fall of the ball was McDonald. Sends a high ball inside 50. Nobody able to take the mark. Ramsden gives chase, but Neil Bullen arrives first for the D's and releases Langdon by hand off half back.
He lets it up to Brayshaw, who marks on his chest. Petrarca having started forward alongside Hardwick, kicks it in the middle of the ground, just got it over the fingertips of Granger Barras as the mark is taken by Rivers of Melbourne. Kicks out to the southern side, Tomlinson's on the move, he sends it inside 50, it's over the head of Melcham, Cozzy's out the back, Pickett's onto it, snaps towards the teeth of goal, it's in the end, blunted away by his foot from James Blank in front of Van Rooyen, and a boundary throw in the left forward pocket for Melbourne.
McGuinness gone to Clayton Oliver as we thought. It's probably the smart move really in the end, isn't it?
Yeah, he's coming off a half forward flank and doing the job on Clayton.
Boundary throw in deep in attack for the D's. Reeves got to the front, palmed it down into the path of Oliver, who was immediately met by McGuinness. It came out to Laurie, whose kick was smothered, and over the line it goes for another boundary throw in, 30 metres around from the left hand behind post. A minute and a half gone. First term for Grandstand AFL. Neither team yet to score.
Crowd has built in the lead up to this match. It's probably over 40,000, you'd say, for what's a perfect day in Melbourne, around 18 degrees. Thrown in, Van Rooyen doing the ruck work, gets it down to Hunter. Hand pass to Melcham, around the body to the goal line. Scrimshaw's there to deny him. The goalkeeper was able to knock it through for a minor score. Melbourne on the board with a behind through 2 minutes here at the MCG.
Scrimshaw runs out of full back and spots something he likes in Weddle, just beyond the defensive 50. He marks in front of Neil Bullen. He'll move things laterally now to Carl Amon, and he'll progress things a little further to Long. He's at left half back for the Hawks. He marks in front of Jake Lever. And he assesses his options up the field. Eventually he wheels onto a right boot and sends things beyond centre wing. Big fly over the top, unable to be taken. In hard was Day. At ground level was Moore. He was wrenched to the ground by Viney. Ball spilled free. It came out to Langdon, who got boots the ball and sent a high one up the line, but getting in the way was Sicily taking the defensive mark.
The Hawthorn captain in the long sleeves this afternoon. Short to Carl Amon, who marks at left half back. On the members' side of the MCG. Looking for options in the middle of the ground. He's going to return back by foot and find Sicily at left half back. Melbourne have the Hawks hemmed inside their back half as he comes back to Carl Amon, who looks through the middle of the ground, wants to switch as the pressure came from Neil Bullen, and eventually Weddle takes the mark at right half back now for the Hawks. He's going to be run down. Pickett got him too slow, just got the hand pass away, and the Hawks will dodge a bullet there as they return it back to Hardwick, just a little unsure where to go.
Well, he almost stopped to a walk, didn't he, Weddle, and Pickett was all over him, just got the hands out in time. Scrimshaw has it at right half back. They've slowed things to a halt early doors here, the Hawks. He'll send the left foot ball beyond the wing. Reeves the target off his hands. Roving beautifully, though, was bruised. Picked up a loose footy and sent a ball inside into the path of Dylan Moore. Had to sit up for him, it did. And awaiting in the goal square was Will Day, who gratefully receives and boots through the first of the afternoon. Hawthorn on the board, 1 straight 6. Melbourne 1 behind. Hawthorn by 5. Early stages of the first term for Grandstand AFL.
It was a real interesting passage of play there. You could see that Hawthorn were just refusing to go long down the line, and then once they actually did, they outnumbered at the contest. It was only really Max Gawn who was down the line contesting, and they got a good contest in the air, and then at ground level there was just no Melbourne players. Whether or not they all decided to push up and cover off, and then just left them completely bare out the back. It was really well done by Hawthorn. It looked like they were just going to try and work their way through, but they saw the outnumber ahead of the football and went there. It's quite smart.
Mark Murphy with you on ABC Sport. It's a smaller Hawthorn forward line with no Mitch Lewis. So Granger Barras, Kaczynski down there alongside Bruce, McDonald and Dylan Moore as well. Bounce back in the middle of the ground. Max Gawn went early against Reeves but couldn't get a tap onto it. Warple tries to charge into Viney. Neither can come away with a disposal. The umpire circles. He's going to pay holding the ball. Hawthorn will get the free kick with Jack Viney on the very bottom of the pack. Unable to knock the footy out. Free kick going the way of Connor Nash. Has it to the right of the centre circles as he looks up inside 50. Veers out to the right. Sends a high ball in the direction of Granger, Barras and Reeves. It's spoiled down by Tomlinson. Little room for Salem. He's tackled, brought down. It spills to Bruce. He bounces to the goal line, but Langdon's there and sees it through for a minor score for the Hawks. A 6-point lead Hawthorn's way after 5 minutes.
It's a good old-fashioned tag at the moment, isn't it? Leads with Finn McGuinness. He's running absolutely everywhere with Clayton Oliver.
Rivers in from full-back, a good kick, clears the defensive 50 and finds Viney. He plays on immediately by hand to Brayshaw. His handball missed Hunter on the outer side. McVie comes in and lends a hand, but they've turned it over the D's. Free kick's been called here to go Melbourne's way, just off the ball.
Back to Hunter.
It'll be Lockie Hunter to take the free kick.
Watching that.
On the outer side.
Looks to send it as far as he can towards half forward. Flying from behind Melcham. Had fingertips to it, just couldn't hang on. He volleys it inside 50. Reeves is there in front of Gawn. Had a second go trying to get the hand pass away. Links up with McInnes. Hand pass to Scrimshaw. Warple needs to try and find a way past Neil Bullen. Good pressure as he gives it back to McInnes. Chips it all the way back to the defensive goal square. And Carl Amon marks. Swings it out the members' side by foot. Moore takes the mark at left half back. Had along against the boundary, ignores that, wants to go more centrally, turns it over, straight to Rivers of Melbourne.
Easy pickings for Rivers, who forces the turnover, takes the mark and kicks inboard to Brayshaw. His kick was off the instep and he's picked out the biggest man on the ground in Reeves, who marks inside defensive 50, flares wide now to Josh Ward. He's at right half back and he's got a man loose on the centre wing, outer side in Luke Bruce. He marks on his chest and goes for a little bit of a gallop before turning inside and finding Carl Amon. His little kick inboard is no good. And Tomlinson gets down and chops it off inside defensive 50 for the Demons.
Kicks out to Langdon. 50. Marks under the Olympic stand, but it will come back. It'll be 50.
Didn't see what that was for, Lee. Clinchy, did you?
No.
Someone must have moved on the mark. Kajitsky went through. Is what the camera's showing us at the moment. So I think he must have gone through the protected area.
Hawthorn are actually pulling them apart quite well at the moment. There's been a couple of skill errors which have let themselves down, but looks like they're getting through the Melbourne defence pretty well.
Around the grounds at Docklands, the West Coast Eagles 11-7-73 to the Western Bulldogs 10-10-70. So the Dogs are in front, but the Eagles have taken back the lead in this final term. We'll keep you across that at Docklands. The Demons have it on the southern side of the ground. Jake Bowie looks for options inside 50, kicks towards Melcham. Good block put on by Max Gawn. Cleared the path for Jake. And he flies in the air and takes the mark in the left forward pocket. He'll shoot from about 45 metres out.
Yeah, I think Carl Amon might have been the one beside Melcham there, but was just hoping that ball would either get over the back or he'd get a big contest from someone else.
Had to go in the air with him, didn't he?
Yeah, have to always go 50-50 on what you're thinking you should do. Always go and make body contact. Try and bring that ball to ground, but he's been in a rich vein of form. Jake Melcham.
He's hit goals in 8 matches. He was the sub on 4 occasions this year. He's striving for his best footy, hoping the opportunities might come in September. Melcham out to the left, looking for Melbourne's first. It's offline to the right-hand side and a second behind to Hawthorn 1-1-7. Matt Clinch and Chris Rowbottom calling the action. Mark Murphy and Brett Delidio, your experts, with Ian Cohen on the boundary.
Jarman Impey in from full-back as a man in the right back pocket in Carl Amon, who's been pretty busy early. He's going to come back across the ground where Weddle awaits and takes the mark in the left back pocket. And he's got Morrison further afield, who just had to stand and wait and did, and took the mark in front of Tomlinson. Kick inboard is good. First touch for Hustwaite for the Hawks on debut. He sends a left foot ball beyond the near wing, and getting in front was Ramsden, and the strong mark in front of Salem. Just in front of a wing, so Ramsden now for the Hawks. The team this afternoon sends a ball long and deep inside 50. Pack forms, but off the pack was Bruce. He somehow bounced it home. The right foot snapped. Well, he did not get the purchase he was after, but it eluded all comers on the line, and Luke Bruce produces yet another trick. 2-1-13 the Hawks. Melbourne 2 behinds. 9.5 gone first term for Grandstand AFL.
It was a nice contested mark, wasn't it, from Ramsden, and then getting a good contest down the line. And Luke Bruce, he's a beautiful player to watch, isn't he? That was just forward craft at its best. And
who was on him, though?
I was going to say, not sure who was opposed to him there, but you would have thought you'd get an arm across probably with the craftiest small forward in the comp for the past 13 or 14 years, however long he's been playing. He's been an absolute star, and that was just one-touch football and just makes football look easy, doesn't he? Luke Bruce.
Shall and Pease there. No one got near him, no body contact, nothing.
Ironically, he still didn't have an opponent as Jake Lever and Trent Rivers are in conversation as to who is meant to be on him. Back in the middle, Gawn wins down the tap, but it's Nash who gets the clearance of the Hawks. Long kick inside 50, Lever takes the mark. Koschitzke was brought down by May. Umpire says that was all okay. Lever out to Langdon, had to spoil it down, got good support in the end as he works it with Rivers and up to Neil Pullen. Bucked under it by Carl Amon, spills away a Brayshaw and Melbourne. Neil Pullen put his head down, found a way past Long. Hand passes back to Rivers at right half back, up the members wing. Melcham flies on the back of Sicily, can't take the mark. Finn McInnes trying to knock it on. Oliver knocked it forward, but only as far as Scrimshaw, who gave it to Carl Amon. Kicks back up the members wing, spoiled down onto it. Here's a chance for Long, gets the hand pass to Connor McDonald, searches with a kick into the middle of the ground, and Nash marks for the Hawks.
Nash inside the corridor. He's going to go further afield to Hardwick, who's at right half back, takes the mark and moves things forward to Morrison. Short ball is good to Moore. He has it on centre wing, outer side. Short lead comes from Nash. That's ignored as Moore plays on and kicks a long ball up the line to right half forward. In front was Ramsden, might have been held. In fact, he was. So free kick to the Hawks here. 75 metres out from goal. They have two on the board and looking to add a third. Koschitzke tried to claim it, but Ramsden will take it. So Ramsden lopes towards 50, sends a low ball to a dangerous spot. Reeves unable to take the mark. Tomlinson gathered the footy on the fall. He was dispossessed. At ground level was Petrarca. Gawn comes up with it, scrambles it outside of defensive 50. Hunter goes after it for the D's. Little underground handball. Just missed Bowie and over the boundary it goes. A ball in 45 metres around from Hawthorn's goal.
Contesting really well in the air at the moment, Hawthorn. I thought it was going to be an area of the game where Melbourne would certainly have them over them in terms of height in the air with their defensive structure at Melbourne, but Hawthorn have started really well bringing the ball to ground.
Another goal for the West Coast Eagles. They lead the Bulldogs by 15 points. And Dockland's there from the ball up, another stoppage as the Hawks can't quite break clear. Connor Nash trying to charge his way through. Thrown up. Reeves wins down the tap against Gawn into the path of Bruce. Somehow squeezes the kick forward into the pocket. McDonald's onto it. Lever gets him. Throws him to the turf. No whistle. Lever gets the hand pass on all fours to Salem. Kicks out to Max Gawn, who marks at left half back for the Demons.
Gawn gets things moving, goes up the wing, wanted Petrarca, but Impey over the top affected things. Day was first to arrive on the loose ball, is immediately taken by Smith, dispossessed, comes out to Scrimshaw, Hustwaite gave it to Impey, goes one way, then the other, back inside 50 go the Hawks. Salem got in front, couldn't take the mark. Butted up well, handball out to Hunter, missed him, now Rivers just escapes the clutches of Moore, but Bruce got him on the second attempt. A fed out a handball to Hunter, who scrapped the ball up the line, but only as far as Impey. Now Day, back to Impey, now Morrison. Impey, just a fumble, let Smith in, he was tackled and brought to ground, somehow got a handball out, over the line it goes. And it'll be a ball in, just forward of a wing, outer side. Hawthorn 2-1-13, Melbourne 2 behinds, 13 and a half gone first turn.
Already halfway through the first, and Petrarca and Oliver yet to touch the footy.
Thrown back in. Gawn wins down the tap. Connor Nash is after it. Brayshaw charges into him, lays an aggressive tackle. Umpire will ball it up under the Shane Warne stand. The opening 2 goals through Day and Bruce for the Hawks. Melbourne with a couple of shots that are both eventuating in behinds. Gawn wins down the tap, boundary side to Brayshaw. Kicks over end towards half forward. Pickett's beaten to it by Impey. Kicks back to Carl Amon at right half back. He's got good support of his captain James Sicily. Turns and kicks out towards Scrimshaw, who marks in the left back pocket. Has good support. Takes a bounce and looks at Hardwick. Links the hand pass over the top to him. Petrarca off of the chase. Hardwick turns back. Hand pass to Scrimshaw into the middle of the ground. Harry Morrison marks for the Hawks.
Morrison marks, he's got a man on him. Day, he marks at the front of the square, and he's got a target inside 50. If he can find him, he can. as Kazitsky takes the slips catch. And he'll kick for Hawthorn's third from right on 50, slight angle.
They're picking them apart at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's just from the stoppage on that outer side. They had Eamon who dropped back to support as a +1 for the Hawthorn defence. And on offence, they're just working harder at the moment and just really spreading hard and opening up a lot of space for one another to use the football.
So Kazitsky will kick from just inside 50. The third of the afternoon for the Hawks, sends it on its way. It's just missing to the near side. In fact, it's clipped the behind post. It'll be out of bounds on the full for no score. Hawthorn 2-1-13, lead Melbourne just the two behinds. 15 minutes gone in this first term. It's to be another 50-metre penalty. And it'll be Adam Tomlinson marched to the top of the 50.
Is that because Bruce refused to stand when he was told to?
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
No, it was Bruce. As Tomlinson comes through the middle of the MCG to Jack Viney. Long kick inside 50. Melcham flies. Can't take the mark. Front and centre. Hat pass comes to Chandler. He's got Smith in the goal square. He dribbles it through. Despite the lunging effort, which was denied right at the last moment. And Melbourne, after some hard work, have their opening goal of the match. They're 1-2-8 to Hawthorn 2-1-13. Joel Smith, the swingman defender, come forward as the Demons on the board.
Well, that'll frustrate Sam Mitchell because they've had him locked in and been really sound defensively so far, Hawthorn, but to give up an easy 50 metres like that, and it really just opens up the whole ground. Not only did they give up that 50, but then they were really slow in terms of trying to man up. They allowed that really easy kick in the middle of the ground to Viney, who could just bomb it to 35 metres out. Great contest. Melcham's really their focal point down there at the moment.
He's jumping over the top of blokes, isn't he? For a bloke who's towards the end of his career, looks pretty fresh, doesn't he? And up and about.
But then there was 4 blokes lining up to try and get it in front, the front and centre. So one on the D's, they needed that one.
Back in the middle, D's on the board. Contested ball, Hustwaite into the centre bounce. He's tackled to the ground by Viney. He was unable to elude his clutches and he'll have a ball up. So Hustwaite injected straight into this Hawthorn engine room. Out of the stoppage, Petrarca couldn't get clean handle, but Langdon could. Off to Salem, tried to get it to Brayshaw, but was under immediate pressure. Eventually got it to Laurie. Now Hunter. Bowie receives just back of a wing on the outer side. His neat ball is good. Up the line to Smith, the goal kicker. He's at left half forward.
He looks to come inboard. Spots up Hunter. In fact, it's Bowie who marks on the southern side. Comes inboard to Stephen May. So reliable Melbourne's defence with May and Lever. He comes through the middle of the MCG and Sparrow marks. Jason to the left of the centre circle. Swings onto his right. Inside 50. Melcham's the target once more. But Sicily's well set. He takes the mark. The Hawthorn captain, as he's denied teams so much in the second half of the season. Such an important cog for the young Hawks as he kicks out to Scrimshaw, who marks in the left back pocket. 10-point lead the West Coast Eagles way, Lids. Be a big loss for the Bulldogs. It would also move the West Coast Eagles off the bottom of the ladder.
Ooh.
Past North Melbourne.
It's big, isn't it? Big ramifications there.
Huge ramifications. Scrimshaw's kick up the line didn't find a target, but it'll be a Hawthorn free kick. It'll go to Kazitsky. He's going to go back inside defensive 50 where Scrimshaw awaits, takes the mark and goes for a little bit of a wander. Eventually goes a little wider to Hardwick, who spots up Weddle on the outer side. Just back of a wing is Josh Weddle, one of these impressive Hawthorn youngsters. He just assesses his options now. Sells a little bit of candy to the man on the mark and gains another 5 metres before sending the Hawks to right half forward, off hands. Moore tracks it to the boundary, but it eludes him and over it goes for a ball in. 2-1-13 the Hawks. Melbourne 1-2-8. 18 and a half gone first term.
It's going to be a big running day, I think, out there. Hawthorn are going to refuse to go long at any stage. They're going to try and work the ball around the ground all day.
Henry Hustwaite on debut, straight to Angus Brayshaw. What an initiation as Jack Viney bursts from the stoppage for the D's. From left half back up to Melcham, who juggles the mark. On the wing in front of Sicily. Charging through, Joel Smith puts the block on. Kicks looking for Petrarca. He flies against 2. Scrimshaw. Hardwick stayed down. Hardwick becomes the tackle on Chandler. Spills out to Pickett. Hard against the boundary. No way forward. Great tackle. As Blank locked him up hard against the boundary. A good win for the reliable defender from Box Hill. It's never easy to try and lock up Cozzy.
That's a nervous position to be in, isn't it? He did really well not to buy any of that candy that Cozzy was selling. Good tackle.
The big man got the little man and sends the Hawks up the line. Van Rooyen flew, couldn't take the mark. At ground level was Nash, tackled by Viney. Oliver lends a hand too. It takes two Demons to bring him to ground, but eventually he falls. We'll have a ball up at right half back for the Hawks. Up it goes. Van Rooyen and Ramsden contest the ruck. Out to Warple. Now Nash. Now Impey. Now Hustwaite gets boots the ball. He's got Warple streaming forward. He takes the mark and just brushes Salem. Moves it forward by hand to Kazitsky. He's on centre wing now for the Hawks. Wheels around onto his right boot and spots a target at right half forward. Strong mark taken by Granger Barras. The kick wasn't quite as good. He skimmed it underground to Morrison, who just rode the tackle, got boots the ball and somehow spotted up a target in Connor McDonald. He'll kick for goal, 35 metres out, slight angle.
Just loving some of the confidence out there at the moment from Hawthorn. Blokes taking guys on the mark and forcing players to come forward to try and defend, and they're just finding that extra out the back at the moment and playing a really strong brand of football. Melbourne just got to wake up a bit at the moment.
19 goals for the season. Conor McDonald, he can add a third here for the Hawks. If he kicks truly, leans back on the kick and he likes it. Pumps the fist. Hawthorn have 3. They extend the margin to 11 points. 3-1-19 the Hawks. Melbourne 1-2-8. 21 minutes gone. First term for Grandstand AFL. Mark Murphy.
Well, I'll jump in there for you, Murph. It's, I think that's why they've got so many admirers, that they take the game on. And it was that Warple one where it's just the kick forward from Hustwaite. Beautiful little touch kick, but instead of stopping and going back over his mark, you know what, I'm going to stiff arm you, Christian Salem. I don't care who's coming at me. And it keeps the ball moving forward. And then Kazitsky finds one nice little kick to Granger Barras. It didn't work, the Barras kick, but Morrison ability just to stand up in that tackle. And Conor McDonald, if you come to the game and actually watch his work rate, he gets up and back, not unlike what the Melbourne half forwards have done for a number of years. So well done, Hawks. They're making the most of the footy they've had so far.
Hawks by 11 points. Goal to Jamie Cripps at Docklands. The West Coast Eagles lead the Bulldogs by 16 points. Day in the middle trying to get the clearance. Turn it over to Gawn. Kicks towards Chandler at half forward. Weddle spoils it down. Swooping onto it, Carl Lamon. Gets the hand pass away. Nice showing of the footy by Warple and swings on his right. He missed the intended target though in Morrison. Open the door for Hunter. Gathers for the D's. Kicks out towards Joel Smith. He gathers on the bounce. Corralling in Miss Scrimshaw, and Smith decides to chip it back to Judd McVie, who marks between wing and half forward.
McVie comes inboard to Rivers. Marks inside the centre square. 2 kicks from home. Short ball picks out Viney. He's a little closer. Wheels onto his left. He'll send the Demons deep. Reeves gets in the way and takes a really strong defensive mark. I'd like to see a little more of that from Big Ned Reeves with the Hawthorn coaching staff.
Yeah, Maxi Gawn let up. I thought that might have been the option, but he kicked it straight to his opponent. You see Maxi crack it. He wasn't happy with that one.
So Reeves wants to give the hand pass to Scrimshaw, and the umpire is saying you're not allowed to be that close to him.
Oh, how's that a rule?
That's pedantic.
Sure, a bit finicky. As Reeves goes short to Amon and works it out to Weddle.
Is that after the rundown tackle last week of Sicily in the goal square? Is that why?
Possibly.
Yeah.
Weddle from left half back, missed Warple, a chance for Stephen May, taps it to his own advantage, lost the footy, gathered by Impey, hand pass to Warple, McDonald under pressure, hand pass forward to Day, he's wrapped up by Gawn, Rivers spins through traffic, whistle for a hold, it's a Hawthorn free kick, coming back to Will Day on the members wing. Melbourne were just about to take possession, as the non-officiating umpire blew the whistle. And Will Day veers out to the right, kicks it long inside 50, Ramsden the target and he takes the mark. Couple of metres clear of Tomlinson. And Hawthorn are very much having the game played on their terms at the moment.
Oh, it was a very good aggressive kick. Melbourne basically had every other bit of space covered off other than that little spot there, but it takes a bit of courage to go for those kicks, because if you turn it over it goes straight down the other end. But at the moment they're playing chaotic football, Hawthorn, and it's really exciting to watch.
Second year Hawk looking for his first goal from directly in front. It's out to the left and he can't bring about his iconic moment in footy. Still to be, but the Hawks lead by 12 points at the 24-minute mark of the opening term.
Clayton Oliver just the one disposal through 24 minutes in this first term. It's brought in from full-back. Rivers takes the mark in the left-back pocket. He takes on Hustwaite, gains some territory and sends the Demons beyond defensive 50 to a contest. Van Rooyen roved it really well. Went inboard by hand to Varney. Back to Van Rooyen. Just lost the hand. He let Warple in. He fed it up to Morrison, who cuts inside, then outside. Eventually just forced to scramble the ball inside 50. Kaczynski came up with it, tried to hack it off the ground to no avail as the cavalry arrives for the Demons, and they'll clear the area via Alex Neil-Bullen. His kick was a good one to Chandler, who reeled it in with the one hand, and he goes inboard to Sparrow.
Melbourne trying to build across half-back as he kicks inboard to Lever. Spots Brayshaw all on his own in the middle of the G. Hand pass to Viney, trying to get out of it. Back into Carl Amon. He gets the hand pass away. Brayshaw on the run from 45. It all works out in the end. Melbourne with their second goal through Angus Brayshaw. Jack Viney had to wear a little contact on the way through. But the Demons close the gap to 6 points Hawthorn's way. 3-2-20 to Melbourne 2-2-14. 25 minutes gone. Opening term on ABC Sport. You're with Mark Murphy and Brett Delidio.
Yeah, I think you can see the blueprint for the Ds. If you can go quick and be brave with your ball movement, go back through the middle of the ground, you can catch a young side on the hop a little bit.
Yeah, well, you only need one bloke to have a breakdown, don't you? And that's where they found themselves there, Hawthorn. They all got a little bit too high and they just didn't quite cover off that long one through the corridor. And Adam Muzo made mention of that, didn't he, before the game, about trying to get the quickest route home through the corridor and see how they can try and defend the Hawks, because that's an area of the game that they can get opened up at times.
West Coast by 14 points at Docklands with just over 3 minutes remaining. Enormous result potentially unfolding under the roof as we go back in the middle. Here's Petrarca combining with Oliver, who just scrambles the ball forward to nobody in particular. Viney first to arrive, rides a strong day tackle, somehow got it out of the congestion. Now Neil-Bullen will break away. Inside 50 go the D's. A wonderful kick it was to Van Rooyen, who marks on his chest. And a third 50-metre penalty in the corner against Hawthorn. This time it's Blank who gives it away, and Van Rooyen will be marched right to the teeth of goal. And will pop through Melbourne's third for the afternoon in the easiest of circumstances. So Melbourne get two in a row. They cut the margin to square. 3-2-20 apiece. 27 and a half gone. First term for Grandstand AFL.
Well, again, it's a lapse in concentration and
brain, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's just silly. They gave up a couple of 50s earlier already, the Hawks. I get playing on the edge, but the 50s have been just through falling asleep, essentially. I've never understood that one, that push after the mark's been taken.
Just frustration.
It is, but what do you get out of it? You should have done your work a hell of a lot earlier to then, what was a difficult shot, 45 metres out on a pretty tough angle, to then take him to the goal square. It's disappointing because you undo a lot of your good work.
Brett Delidio with you on ABC Sport. The Hawks got out by 12 points. Melbourne have rattled back to level pegging. Meanwhile, the Bulldogs, if they lose, they could slip down to 9th on the AFL ladder with 1 to play. Warple gets the clearance for the Hawks. Hand pass to McInnes, inside 50, down low for Bruce. Can't get there. McVie does enough to knock it away, and then he's locked up. Stephen May had nowhere to go. The tackle laid by Henry Hustwaite on debut with the nickname of Pencil Neck, as Mitch Lewis told us before the game. Left forward pocket for the Hawks. Ramsden's doing the ruck work against Gawn. Gawn just drops it down, looking for Rivers. He's tackled by Hustwaite. It spills down the way of Bruce, holding the ball. And the debutant will get a shot on goal here.
Yeah, try to get the arms free, and whenever you do that and you don't make contact with the football, you're always in a bit of trouble. But I've liked the move of Clayton Oliver going to a half-forward flank. Has caused a little bit of disruption between a few of the Hawthorn players, not sure who to go to. So smart by Simon Goodwin to just change things up subtly.
Henry Hustwaite, the late inclusion for Jai Newcomb, with number 44 on his back. On debut, directly in front, 35 metres out. Welcome to the big time. And every Hawthorn player comes within striking distance to join the celebration. And the Hawks respond to take back a 6-point advantage. 4-2-26 to Melbourne, 3-2-20. 29 minutes gone, opening term on ABC Sport.
Fantastic moment for the young bloke. You always remember your first goal. I still remember mine, Murph. I'm sure you do as well. But good to earn it the way he did. Big tackle. that's a talk about coming in and playing as a young bloke. You want to earn the respect of your teammates. Lay a big tackle in the forward 50 and then go back and slot it coolly and calmly as you did. The big pencil neck, love that. He'll be certainly cherishing that and telling long stories about how that goal came about.
Yeah, it's a great moment. You see his family and friends in the crowd all celebrating.
Yeah, the old man looked pumped.
Hawks back out by a goal. We go back to the middle where Reeves and Gawn contest. Gawn ripped it out of the ruck, got a kick forward, but the siren sounds. The quarter belonged to the Hawks, and an entertaining first stanza. 4-2-26 Hawthorn as Finn McGuinness and Clayton Oliver get into it inside the centre square. Players come from all ends. We've got something of a minor melee happening here. Maybe Clayton Oliver not too happy with the Finn McGuinness attention in the first term. Melbourne 3-2-20. They trail the Hawks by 6 points after one as tensions flare. They get into it in the middle of the MCG. Brett Deledio, how did you see it?
Saw plenty of fiery. I'd be getting a bit upset as well, I reckon, if I'm Clayton Oliver. I reckon Finn McGuinness has gone and said, "Are you playing today, are you, mate? Jeez, I've hardly seen you." I'll be going to Christian Petrarca as well and asking the same question.
What I've hardly seen is any Melbourne remonstration at all, or any blocks to Finn McGuinness. He's sort of had it his own way in this first quarter, just trailing around Clayton Oliver. So finally a bit of aggression there from Melbourne. It's good to see them. They're only a goal down, but they've been slow starters today. But I like to see sides, whenever one of their best players is getting tagged, that it's a team job to try and get into the tagger, and vice versa, isn't it? We've seen that a number of times with Dacos this year, with Collingwood all getting around to support. Didn't see much of it that quarter from Melbourne, so hopefully they pick up their game in that area going forward.
Took them a little while to separate, but now they've headed to their individual huddles. Hawthorn by 6 points at quarter time. Goals today, Bruce, McDonald and Huswaite. Meanwhile for Melbourne, their goals have come through Van Rooyen, Brayshaw and Smith. The West Coast Eagles have defeated the Western Bulldogs 14-8-92 to the Dogs 12-13-85. I'll tell you about what that means to the race for September in just a moment. Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio, ABC Sport Digital, and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
We need to go now.
You're not kicking me out of my own home, Arthur.
Denise Scott and Matt O'Kine.
It's an assisted living village, Mum.
In a shiny new comedy.
We're at a goat farm.
Mother and son.
You haven't even mentioned my new mode.
It's hideous.
Cheeky, provocative.
What'll we do now?
And proves love is relative.
Looks like it's just you and me, Mum.
Believe me, Arthur.
Mother and Son.
That's more than enough.
Starts 8:30 Wednesday night on ABC TV and ABC iView. Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Left foot ball beyond the wing. Reeves the target off his hands. Roving beautifully though was bruised. Picked up a loose footy and sent a ball inside into the path of Dylan Moore. Had to sit up for him and did. And awaiting in the goal square was Will Day, who gratefully receives and boots through the first of the afternoon. Ramsden now for the Hawks. Team this afternoon sends a ball long and deep inside 50. Pack Hawks, but off the pack was Bruce. He somehow bounced it home.
Long kick inside 50, Melcham flies. Can't take the mark. Front and centre. Hand pass comes to Chandler. He's got Smith in the goal square. He dribbles it through. Despite the lunging effort, which was denied right at the last moment. And Melbourne, after some hard work, have their opening goal of the match. Lever spots Brayshaw on his own in the middle of the G. Hand pass to Viney, trying to get out of it. Back into Carl Amon. He gets the hand pass away. Brayshaw on the run from 45. It all works out in the end. Looking for Rivers. He's tackled by Huswaite. It spills down the way of Bruce, holding the ball. Henry Huswaite, the late inclusion for Jai Newcomb, with number 44 on his back. On debut, directly in front, 35 metres out. Welcome to the big time.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Another impressive start from the young Hawks. They lead by 6 points over the Demons, 4-2-26 to Melbourne 3-2-20. Macklish and Chris Rowbottom calling the action. And Cohen down the boundary. Mark Murphy and Brett Deledio are your experts. Just trying to do a bit of ladder predicting, Lids.
What are you
I think
saying?
the Saints and the Swans are now locked in.
Yeah, that's what
I think
we're
all the
looking
way
at.
down to 7th is confirmed. And it means the Dogs and GWS are fighting for 8th position.
So the Giants need to beat the Blues. And
The Giants could lose and the Bulldogs could lose. They still play.
potentially, yeah.
But they'll know going into the Carlton game. Giants.
Yeah.
Western Bulldogs have got
I don't like that. I don't like it.
And all of a sudden, Adam Simpson, so the West Coast Eagles win, but North Melbourne are now beyond the bottom of the ladder in the potential number 1 draft pick.
Yeah, and potentially compensation coming for Ben McKay. I wonder where that lands. And potentially Riley Sanders, we're hearing as well, going there into the NGA. But, well, this game here, right in front of us, here, Clinchy, they've been a slow start for the D's, and rightly they're behind, and they should be more behind if not for a few disciplinary things and, just lapses from the Hawks, which you get with younger sides. But Sam Mitchell won't be happy with that, but what he will be happy with is the ability to win it in close, the job that his boys are doing on Petrarca and Oliver. Oliver's had 2 touches, a kick and a handball. Petrarca's had 1 handball so far. And, Finn McGuinness is doing his job well and truly. He's had the 4 running around, coming off the half-forward flank, going to Oliver. We saw the frustration spill over a little bit there in the last, after the siren, just before quarter time. So what we'd like, and you made mention of it, we'd like to see a little bit more effort from a few of the other D's players. They probably haven't had to deal with it too much, their players being tagged, because the tagging's gone out of the game, essentially, hasn't it? Finn McGuinness is probably on his Pat Malone a little bit out there, but...
Yeah, well, the thing that would have annoyed you when you got tagged, Lids, is when you feel like you're fighting the fight by yourself. And at the moment, looking at Melbourne, they're only a goal down, but we can all be doom and gloom sometimes, but I just haven't seen enough response around some of the other Melbourne midfielders, and there's enough experience out there to support Clayton Oliver. So let's see some more blocking, getting into Finn McGuinness, because at the moment he's just able to do what he wants, and that's just trail around Clayton Oliver.
Mark Murphy and Brett Delidio with you on ABC Sport. The West Coast Eagles players are high-fiving the Eagles fans in the crowd at Docklands. Second quarter underway. Reeves wins down the tap to Nash. Kicks towards half-forward. Levers underneath. Didn't do enough to hang on to the mark in the eyes of the umpire. McDonald spoiled it late. Onto it Viney. Kicks out towards half-back. Chandler's the target. Wrestling with Weddle. Weddle's onto it for the Hawks. Hand pass to Moore. Just couldn't quite clear a lunging Viney. Spills back to Langdon. He's locked up by Warple. Ball eventually comes clear. Viney knows only one way forward. He tries to charge it forward, gaining every little bit of territory, and a free kick for a hold as Chandler didn't have possession of the footy. He'll take it for Melbourne at right half back.
Warple stands the mark for the Hawks as Chandler will go sideways back to May inside the defensive 50. He just ambles along and spreads things a little further to Tomlinson, who marks in front of Granger Barras in the left back pocket for Melbourne. Beyond the 50 he goes. Lever on his own was able to take an uncontested mark, and they move on immediately by hand now. The D's up the line. Melksham couldn't quite take the mark. Nash harassed him. The Hawks will win it here through Sicily. Over the top of Warple though, and ended up with Petrarca, who got it off to Laurie. Inside 50 got the D's lunging across with the defensive spoil was Blank, who knocks it out of bounds for a ball in 45 metres around from Melbourne's goal.
Certainly desperate at the moment, the Hawks. Just getting the fist in, diving to spoil, defending really well.
Finn McGuinness alongside Clayton Oliver as the ball's thrown in. Gawn wins down the tap, but straight to Hardwick of the Hawks. Hand pass to Carl Amon, kicks up the members wing. Kajitsky's outmanoeuvred, and the mark is taken by Stephen May. Melbourne's reliable number 1 turns and comes inboard to Viney. Wants to switch it to centre half back where Rivers can take the mark. Melbourne's leading possession getter in the first quarter. Kicks out towards Langdon on the southern wing. Has a few metres of space on Morrison. So the D's have worked it between wing and half forward, but where to from here? Gawn's gone forward alongside Reeves. Langdon plays on, runs the boundary line, sends it into the pocket. Gawn's the target. Reeves spoils it down. Sicily races back, gets the hand pass to Hardwick for the Hawks. Kicks a high and clearing kick. Melbourne are well set. Rivers underneath takes the mark, despite the late effort from Luke Bruce.
So Rivers doing all the patrolling at the moment for the D's, and he'll send them inside again here. Rivers sends a low ball inside 50 in the Gawn direction. Had Sicily to contend with, but he picked it up on the bounce, fed it out to Brayshaw. Now Langdon tight against the boundary. Centering ball, Melksham couldn't quite take it. Oliver was there, couldn't win possession. In after it was Laurie. He had McDonald for company. Hands and knees was Warple, who fed it up to Long. He scrambled a ball up towards the near wing. 1-on-1 between Granger Barras and Tomlinson. Cavalry arrives for the D's in the form of Lever, but he collared Granger Barras on the way down as he gathered the footy and gave away the free kick for the high contact, and Granger Barras will take it right in front of the interchange benches.
It's a big win, 2v1. Well done, really smart too to drive the leg, their shoulder down, get the high tackle.
7th game of the season for Denver Granger Barras. 6 towards the top of the 50, in from the side. Stephen May takes the mark over the top of Jacob Kajitsky. Looks into the middle of the ground. Pickett's the target. He missed him though. Opens the door for the Hawks. Wendell missed his target. In Carl Amon has to fight for it in the middle of the ground. Lays the tackle on Viney. Melbourne still have the numbers. Brayshaw's hand pass to Oliver. A couple of metres on McInnes. Hand pass to Gawn. Links up with Salem. Clean passage through the middle of the ground. The kick is wide of Melcham. James Sicily marks on his chest. The Hawthorn captain as he chips it over the top. Jarman Impey marks. Hawthorn by 6 points.
He's at right half back. Picks out a target wide and Granger Barras. Looping handball now over the top to McDonald. Sold him into a little bit of trouble. Now Long back to McDonald. They work it by hand here, the Hawks. He eventually gets it onto the boot and kicks to right half forward. A contest. Kazitsky unable to bring it down. Day applied the pressure on Lever, but he had enough time and space to get away and find Cozzy Pickett just back of a wing on the near side. Marks on his chest. He'll go short in the Petrarca direction, right on his bootlaces, unable to gather as Impey arrived. Scooped it up for the Hawks. Short and wide ball was a little risky, but was good enough to pick out Long, who marked strongly in front of Rivers.
So Long at right half back. Ed Long in his 5th game of AFL footy. Sends it as long as he can around the members' wing. Reeves is the target. Gawn taps it down. In front, Connor McDonald can get a disposal away. Spills out the way of Lever. Ricochets away from him. Weddle's back onto it. On the members' wing. Arches the back to get away from Brayshaw. Hand pass out in the path of Denver. Granger Barras. Bouncing off him is Judd McVie. Lifting for Melbourne, the youngster. Hand pass to Brayshaw. Around the boundary line to Van Rooyen. Out at left half forward. 60 out.
Nice.
Kicks into the lead of Melcham. He finally got away from James Sicily to take a mark.
There was a good bit of forward craft there by Jake Melcham. Just found the back of Blank and then came back up the leg, and it was just great vision for the young Van Rooyen to find him. And good skills hitting him on the target, on the chest.
He was emergency in all 3 of Melbourne's finals and the premiership in 2021. Close mate of Max Gawn, so he'll be hoping to lift in his 200th game. Jake Melcham had a sider in the first quarter. Deep in the left forward pocket under the Olympic stand. He veers out just inside 50, strikes it, and it's offline to the left. A minor score. Hawthorn lead by 5 points. 6 minutes gone, second quarter. And the surprise result today, the West Coast Eagles winners. Jamie Cripps booting 5 over the Western Bulldogs by 7 points at Docklands.
Aim on with the kick in duties. Long left foot ball out to a contest. Wanted Morrison. Couldn't reel in the mark. Lever on hands and knees. Just paddled it in the Gawn direction. Hawks still fighting hard though. Sparrow missed it, but it came out to Langdon, who sent Melbourne inside 50. Tracking back on goal was Chandler. He reeled it in and marked just outside the goal square, 15 metres out. And should pop through Melbourne's 4th of the afternoon.
Yeah, well done, Ed Langdon. Beautiful kick. I thought he might have been setting sail.
So Chandler, top of the square, makes no mistake. And Melbourne gain the lead here at the MCG. They're out by 1. 4-3-27 the Demons, 4-2-26 Hawthorn. 6.5 gone second term for Grandstand AFL.
Well, they picked up their work rate at the moment, Melbourne. They've certainly lifted in this second quarter. And you can tell by the way in which Hawthorn haven't been able to pick their way through so far. So the team defence that Adam Muzo was talking about prior to the game has certainly lifted in this second quarter, and Hawthorn have had to bomb it on numerous times down the line, and we've seen May start to come to the game. Max Gawn, Lever getting their hands on the football, and that just starts off the offense of Melbourne. So they've certainly picked up their work rate in that area of the game.
Well, it's what they weren't doing in the first quarter, wasn't it? So they need to get back to that quick, smart.
Brett Delidio and Mark Murphy with you. Demons in front by a point. They drew level in that opening term after Hawthorn's dominance. Jack Viney tries to get the clearance, tackled by Day from the stoppage. It spills out the way of Laurie. The young Demon out in front of Langdon made it work. He knocked it away from Connor McDonald to Bowie. Kicks up towards half forward. Sparrow marks. Has Laurie forward. Gives him the hand pass. Has options boundary side. Hand passes to Viney. He tries to kick inside 50. Gawn the target. Spoiled down by Reeves. Still a chance for Melbourne. Smith can't take it. Scrimshaw dives on top. Locks up Jake Melcham. He in the right forward pocket at the punt road end. Melbourne by a point.
Ball up deep in attack for the D's. We lead by 1. Reeves palmed it down straight to Petrarca. Off his hands. He had a flying shot on goal and crossed the face. A minor score. 4-4
on the boundary.
Christian Petrarca, the doctor's been out. Just have a look. I think he copped a poke in the eye about 2 or 3 minutes ago. And Connor Nash for the Hawks has had some padding applied to his right hip. Seems a little bit proppy on that one at the moment.
Thanks, Koza and Cohen. Matt Clinch, Chris Robot, Brett Delidio and Mark Murphy for Sunday afternoon footy. As the Hawks through Will Day, long towards the southern side wing. Kajitsky flies and can't take the mark. Mays over the top of the footy for Melbourne. Kajitsky gets a hand pass out to Hardwick, who links up with McDonald across half-back. Chips it to Blank, not 15. Had to give it back to McDonald. Links up with Scrimshaw at left half-back. Plenty of advice as he looked to try and switch the play. Wasn't on offer. Swings back on his left and turns it over. McVie marks for Melbourne. Hand pass away to Stephen May. Inside 50. Melcham on the lead. Just trying to find the right outlet from the half-back line, the Hawks, and the turnover proved costly as Jake Melcham receives the mark from Stephen May.
Yeah, you were talking about receiving plenty of advice, and the switch was on. He needed to bring it out. I was watching young Harry Morrison on the wing, and he's flapping his arms about and getting upset because it didn't come that way. And eventually go back skinny side, turnover. It's exactly where Melbourne wants you to go. A great kick inside from Stephen May to Melcham. They're big full forward.
Jake Melcham, he's kicked 3 behinds. He needs to stick one here directly in front. 45 metres out, make that 4 behinds. I'm sure you can be a full forward if you're going to miss shots like that. Demons lead by 3 points. 10 minutes gone. Second term.
We all have bad days. He's getting shots. He's getting looks.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
And he's been a real target for him. He brings the ball to ground more often than not if he's not marking it.
Hardwick runs his full measure out of full back and kicks beyond defensive 50 for the Hawks. Kaczynski got rid of May in the contest, and the D's will get a free kick here at left half back. As Oliver returns to the ground and McGuinness returns to him. Short ball is good to Salem. Goes a little further back to Tomlinson in the middle of the ground. He's going to come back to Salem here, who marks on the logo of centre wing. He's got May on short if he so chooses. He'll go short, but he'll go to Bowie, who's just found a little gap. Inside 50 go the D's to a contest. Reeves got back, it was through his hands, and now Melcham strikes. The hardest one of his 5 attempts, and he puts it through off the deck. So Jake Melcham, with 4 behinds to his name, kicks an opportunist goal off the MCG turf. And the Demons extend the lead. 5-5-35 Melbourne. Hawthorn 4-2-26, 11 minutes gone. Second term for Grandstand AFL.
Well, it wasn't working off his right foot. So decided to throw the left slipper at it.
Nor a ball drop.
Or a ball drop, you're right. But the gap's opened up, I think. It's the one thing when you are tagging that you can pull teams apart. Yep. And Clayton Oliver was sitting there in a 45 and Finn McGuinness is right on him. And he just worked his way back towards goal, which opened up a little pocket for Bowie just to slot into. And that's how you can pull them apart when you do have a run with roll. You can pull teams apart with the way in which they're trying to defend. So smart use there by Melbourne to see that space and take it.
You've got to be selfless, though, as the player being tagged, to run out of the space where you think you're going to get it.
Hawthorn led by 12 points in the opening quarter. Melbourne with the only 2 goals of the second. Warple gets the clearance, kicks towards Moore at half forward, spoiled away from him, spills away at Petrarca under the pressure of Warple, missed the intended target, gets the hand pass, Warple back from Reeves, links up with Impey across half back, kicks to a vacant half forward. May got an awkward bounce, bounces away of Kajitsky, gets the hand pass away, a chip kick forward by Long and awkwardly bounced in front of Ramsden. Has to try and go back and try and win it once more. Ned Long can't break clear. As the ball is locked up at right half forward for the Hawks, and some good work from Judd McVie. Right on the paint of the attacking 50 at the city end for the Hawks.
Right where the 50 meets the boundary, a ball up as Van Rooyen and Ramsden. Ramsden took it out of the ruck. His handball was picked out by Petrarca. He missed the target as Bruce, I think it was, went in low, and he'll win a free kick. Salem, the aggressor. Luke Bruce has it 55 metres out from goal on a tight-ish angle. This would test him if he chooses to have a ping for home. Weighing up his options is Luke Bruce. There's one for the afternoon. He cuts a really squaring ball into a dangerous position, and Huswaite takes the mark over Petrarca.
Well,
love that.
He was never ever going to shoot that goal. So the longer he holds it, you have to think, well, I've got to be on edge. I've got to be ready to go. Yeah, I get that you're a superstar forward, mid.
Who are you alluding to here, Lids?
Don't need to say, because we all saw who he was up against. But well done to Henry Huswaite, making the best midfielders defend.
So from 40 metres out directly in front, Henry Huswaite already has one on debut. Let's fly off the left boot. Make that two for Henry. Huswaite kicks truly. And he cuts the margin back to 3. Melbourne 5-5-35. Hawthorn 5-2-32. 14 minutes gone, second term.
Well done to young Henry, kicking 2 goals in your opening game of football. 1, you get rewarded for the tackle, and 2, you take a mark over Christian Petrarca. So good start to his career, and looks really well accomplished so far. Neck or pencil, what are we calling him?
Well, for listeners that weren't with us, Mitch Lewis said he's got one of the longest necks he's seen. So,
well, you can see it for yourself if you're watching.
Yeah.
Bit of Blakey about him.
Yeah, a lot of Blakey about him.
The lizard.
The lizard.
We need a different lizard. A Komodo.
So Henry Huswaite getting his opportunity because John Newcomb was a laid out for the Hawks, and isn't he making the most of it? Back to a 3-point game. Ramsden in the ruck up against Gawn. Spills down the way of Day. Hand pass away. Slipping over Huswaite. He does get the hand pass away. Links up with Sicily. Finds Jarman Impey at left half back. On the run. Gets the hand pass away to Ward. He kicks the Hawks inside 50 and breaking out a great mark. Denver Granger Barras takes the mark slightly left of centre. He'll kick from just inside 50.
Well, geez, you'd be pretty pleased if you're a Hawthorn supporter. Watching that delivery, Josh Ward out there off the wing, that was laser-like. But it's also the emergence of Denver Granger Barras up forward. I think they've been crying out for Mitchy Lewis was in here before talking about another key forward who could go and do the job. Maybe this is your man.
Kicked a goal last week against the Western Bulldogs. Granger Barras comes in. It's a good kick. And the Hawks are back in front. Right up for the challenge here at the MCG. 15 minutes gone, second quarter. Hawthorn 6-2-38 to Melbourne 5-5-35.
Well, we're having a bit of fun out there at the moment, the Hawks. They're all getting involved in the celebration, which we enjoy. We love to see, but it was just great ball movement out of the centre square bounce. They went back and around, and then I'm not sure if it's just left footers. They just look nice at kicks, don't they, when they get the ball in their hands and deliver it like they do there. But yeah, they've responded here really well, Hawthorn. Melbourne have put the foot down here at the start of this second quarter, and to Hawthorn's credit, they've responded, which is great to see, which you really enjoy seeing from a young side, that they get headed by a really experienced side and be able to respond in the fashion they have in the last couple of minutes.
They've beaten Collingwood and the Western Bulldogs in recent weeks, and who knows, can they knock off a top 4 contender here this afternoon? Not if Clayton Oliver has anything to do with it. He propels Melbourne forward out of the centre bounce. Smith couldn't quite bring it under his spell. He got a handball up to Sparrow. Short ball is just the required 15 to Neil Bullen. He marks 40 metres out on a slight angle. He'll kick for goal.
Good composure there. Didn't just blaze away, Sparrow. Saw Neil Bullen pop up. He would have been 15 at best, wouldn't he, Lids? But he just only just got the 15, but just smart. Don't just blaze away. See a teammate hit him.
Alex Neil Bullen on the runway, approaches, sends it on its way. It's across the face, and in fact it won't score because the mark is taken on the behind line by Weddle.
Goes short to Jarman Impey at the punt road end, just 10 metres out from his defensive goal. He's called to play on. Van Rooyen comes at him, hand pass to Sicily, hard against the boundary line. A long clearing kick up towards the southern wing. Kajitsky's worked out of it. McInnes tries to knock it back into the congestion. Viney trying to charge his way through, now becomes the tackler. Kajitsky locked up on the wing. Hawthorn by 3 points, 17 minutes gone, second term here at the MCG. Earlier the West Coast Eagles with an upset which has all sorts of ramifications, winning by 7 points over the Western Bulldogs. Warple gets the clearing kick, sends it up towards 50. Granger Barras got rid of his opponent, blazes away and misses. But the free kick for in the back, it's coming back. Tomlinson relieved that the umpire saw it the way he felt it, right in the middle of the back. It's Granger Barras with a shove at centre half forward.
It's a pretty obvious one, wasn't it? The double motion when you give someone the double fist push in the back. Unlikely to get away with that one.
Tomlinson at true centre half back for the D's. He'll move things out to the outer side, and why not? Because Max Gawn is lurking, and he takes the mark over James Sicily. Just a little lingering. Takes a moment to get to his feet, but he eventually does Max Gawn, as Tomlinson provides the short option, and that's where he goes. So the D's have it on the outer side. They trail the Hawks by 3 points. On board comes Tomlinson. Kick had to be good and was to Sparrow, who takes the mark sliding on his knees. He comes a little further inboard, and the D's go inside 50. Hunter couldn't quite complete the mark. Impey arrived for the Hawks, fit out a handball, but here's Petrarca. Gathers the loose footy, feeds it back to May, but he's under immediate pressure from Kaczynski. He eventually got the handball off to McVie, but he's mobbed by 3 Hawks. And these young Hawks are bringing the heat this afternoon at the MCG. They force a stoppage at left half forward.
Couple of goals apiece so far in this second quarter as Reeves wins down the tap. It spills to Connor Nash. Oliver's after him. Kicks up towards half forward. Tomlinson wrestling with Granger Barras. And Granger Barras takes the mark. Players streaming inside 50. Looks for Woods Bruce. Out to the right forward pocket. It's too wide for him. Bounces out of play under the Ponsford stand. And Cohen on the boundary.
It's one for the boys in the back row. I've just been watching McGuinness trail around Clayton Oliver. He's getting no attention at all from other Melbourne players, and we know the Demons cop criticism for not protecting their captain Max Gawn not so long ago. You would expect more bodies on McGuinness from the Demons.
Thanks, Koza. Thrown back in. Gawn wins down the tap against Ramsden. Spills to the front. Good clean pick up by McGuinness with one hand. Kicks inside 50. McVie couldn't take the mark down low. Regathers. Hand pass to Lever. Back to McVie. Held his nerve in tight confinement. Kicks up towards Neil Bullen. He's in a wrestle with Weddle. Weddle has support. Ward gathers. Hand pass to McDonald. Left half forward. Looks inside 50. Warple up with one arm. Can't take the mark. Oliver knocked it down. Straight to Nash though. Nash's hand pass back to Warple. Brought down by Salem. Eventually the whistle holding the ball. Melbourne take the advantage through Clayton Oliver. Happy to get some touches. Goes short to Neil Bullen. Into the middle of the ground for Viney. Who's cannoned into by Nash.
Gee, he did well to hang on to that, did Viney. He releases Rivers by hand now, and the D's go forward. It's over the head of Chandler, though, awaiting inside the defensive 50 is Day, who shares it by hand with Impey, and he flares it wide to aim on. He's in the right back pocket for the Hawks. Spots a man with a little bit of space in Ramsden, who marks at right half back for the Hawks in front of Max Gawn. He just takes a breather and chooses his next option, which is a long kick up the line. Probably not the best one, but it fell fortuitously for Reeves. He was mobbed by Tomlinson. Eventually a handball comes out in the Hawks' direction. Granger Barras onto it. McVie onto him. He's taken to ground. Umpire circles. D's fans want holding the pill. The umpire says nothing doing. We'll have a ball up just forward of centre wing. Next to the boundary. Up it goes. Gawn won it down. Brayshaw fed it off to Petrarca. He got it forward to Laurie. Just spent it before he had it. Did well to regather the footy to get it to Petrarca. Now Viney inboard to Brayshaw. Nothing coming easy for the D's. They're hassled out of it here. Connor Nash comes up with it as Viney stays down. Sicily now. Hardwick for the Hawks. Sends them forward to the 50. But getting across and relieving the pressure is Lever, who takes a good mark at left half back.
Has Langdon free inside the defensive 50, chips the ball his way, wants to come through the middle of the ground to Rivers. Marks at the back edge of the centre square. Hand pass back to Langdon, trying to put some speed on the ball. Chips it out to Max Gawn. He marks just to the right of the AFL logo, southern side of the MCG. Van Rooyen leads up. He goes shorter than that towards Chandler. Cannoning into Carl Amon, who knocks it out to Ward. Ricochets forward for Melbourne. Sicily lumbers after it. He gathers up against the boundary in the defensive 50. Gives the hand pass to Scrimshaw. Links up with Impey. Wants to switch play into the right back pocket because he has Hardwick on his own. The Hawks are well set in their defensive half. Hand passes around the back to Day. Comes to a complete halt with nothing down the members' wing. Chips it back to Hardwick. 30 metres out from his defensive goal. Punt road end.
Hardwick picks out a target in McGuinness, who marks in front of Laurie. Short ball to Morrison. At right half back, the Hawks. Morrison twirls the ball in his hands and scans the field ahead. Kicks up the line to a contest. Getting in front was Granger Barras, who flew from too deep and took the mark on his chest.
Playing with a bit of confidence at the moment, isn't he? Granger Barras, he's
launching at it.
Launching the footy, looks really, really confident with the ball in his area.
He'll send the Hawks to right half forward. Reeves and Gawn contested at ground level. It's Viney and Moore. Viney gathers the footy, but he's just hassled eventually over the line. In fact, it's still in. And he's been pinged for holding the ball. Well, Viney tried to step over the line, but Moore kept him in on purpose, held the tackle, and Viney was penalised.
He put the ball over the line, though.
Yeah.
Like, what did the umpire miss? That was as blatant as that handball to Jeremy Cameron from 4 feet outside the boundary.
Umpire didn't have his whistle on him.
The ball was well and truly over the line, but Viney stayed inside as Moore sends a long ball all the way. Dylan Moore from 50 on the tight angle. Well, they're playing on out of full back here. We thought it was called a goal, but the D's are in possession at right half back. The crowd went up. There's confusion here at the MCG. We're going to have to see a replay. Melbourne have brought it out at full back. I must say, I thought it was a goal, as did half of the MCG. The D's live to fight another day. Viney has it in the middle of the MCG. Flares it wide by hand to Salem. He's on the near wing. Left football inside now for Melbourne. Melksham was a target. Sicily arrived. Knocked the ball to the boundary line. Laurie, right football inside. Melksham takes the mark. Somewhat fortuitously for the D's. Melksham marks on his chest, 35 metres out from goal, slight angle.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's exactly where he wanted the ball to go, but he threw the ball on his boot and kicked a little banana just in a little space to the side of
change of option here for Jakey Melksham.
Jakey Melksham, so now he's going around the corner.
So Melksham around the corner he goes. Can he make it a second? He can. This time it's a goal. Jake Melksham puts it through at post height. The Demons regain the lead. They're out by 2. 6-5-41 Melbourne. They lead Hawthorn 6-3-39. 25 and a half gone. Second term, an entertaining fixture unfolding here at the MCG for Grandstand AFL.
Yeah, it is. I think, that Hawks fans could probably consider himself a little bit unlucky. I haven't seen a replay yet to suggest that was a behind, or it must have been touched, was it? Closer to the point post, Clinchy. I'm not 100% sure, but I reckon Jack Viney put that ball well and truly over the line. But I think it was great effort from, just Lockie Hunter gave a shepherd there to young Laurie to give him enough time to be able to jam that ball back inside. And Melksham, like a good forward, right place, right time. I think it must have just touched the post.
Yeah. The Dylan Moore shot just clipped the inside of the post.
Yep, goal umpires seem to make the right call, but you're pretty brave in this climate to not go to the arc. Given the events of last night, what a crazy 24 hours it's been. Third lead change of the match. Melbourne back in front by 2 points. Bounces recalled. Reeves wins down the tap against Gorn. Petrarca trying to get involved. Hand pass to Brayshaw. Links up with Hunter on the members wing. Swings onto his left. Kicks inside 50. Van Rooyen and Pickett fly. Spills to the front. Melksham can't gather. Laurie tries to spin out of the tackle from Huswaite. He kicks towards goal. It's offline. And getting back was Ward. Courageously, Day was there as well, and he almost cannoned into the right goalpost. The two Hawks with a bit of collateral damage, but in the end, Josh Ward was able to take the mark. Melbourne by 2 points.
It was brave from Will Day, who's feeling the effects as Josh Ward plays on out of fullback. Sends a long ball beyond defensive 50, but Toplinson's in the way for the D's. He takes the mark. He's too far out to score. He'll send a spiral inside 50 anyway, but it won't result in a change to the score. Melbourne will take a 2-point lead into the main break. 6-5-41 the D's. The Hawks 6-3-39 at the major break.
So the Hawks led by 6 points a quarter time. Melbourne with 3 goals to 2 in that second quarter to hold a 2-point advantage. For the Demons, 2 goals to Jake Melksham. He's been playing like David Neitz today. He's got 2 goals for playing alongside James Sicily. Individual goals to Van Rooyen, Brayshaw, Smith and Chandler. Meanwhile, for the Hawks, their goals have come through. 2 to Henry, Huswaite on debut. Individuals to McDonald, Granger Barras, Bruce and Day. The Demons leading by 2 points at half-time. Earlier today, the West Coast Eagles with an all-time upset, defeating the Western Bulldogs by 7 points in a game in which Jamie Cripps booted 5, Oscar Allen kicked 3. The Eagles with 5 goals to 2 in the final term, meaning the West Coast Eagles will jump above North Melbourne. They're in now 17th spot on the AFL ladder. And the Western Bulldogs, they slide outside of the 8 for now, meaning they'll have to win in the final round to feature in September. And the Saints and the Swans are now locked in after the results of last night. So incredible to think, with all the drama in Adelaide, that the Saints will now play in September, and Sydney as well. The Western Bulldogs will have to win against Geelong and hope the Giants will lose to Carlton. So all sorts of results still possible as we head in the final round of the home and away season.
I just saw, just before we go into the game, a little tweet from the Giants saying, "Dear West Coast Eagles, thank you sincerely, the Giants."
Which again, it's bizarre at this time of year when you're relying on other clubs to do the right thing by you. But I mean, for all the Western Bulldogs' form issues, I don't think too many people saw them losing to the bottom placed Eagles at Dockland. So there's going to be a lot of questions of Luke Beveridge, no doubt, during the week. But some quick thoughts on the match to half-time with the Demons leading by 2 points.
Well, it's been a pretty even contest.
Yeah, it's been great.
I thought that Hawthorn started the game really well. Melbourne looked a little bit flat-footed at the start. They certainly brought the pressure and the heat early on in that second quarter. Melbourne, they tidied up their team defence, and Hawthorn found it pretty difficult to get through, and then they were able to score on the back of that, Melbourne. But to Hawthorn's credit, we spoke about them kicking the last 2 goals and getting back into the game. It's always a good sign when you're a young team and you're playing against an experienced team in Melbourne, that you can respond when they start to get a bit of a run on, because that's something that Melbourne have been really good at over the last few years, is scoring in bursts, and they were able to stop momentum and then shift it back towards their way. But it's been a pretty even contest.
Yeah, it has. And you've got to pay your dues to the Hawks and how they've been able to break down the D's and not allow them to really be free-flowing. But, similarly, I think the D's have been able to wrestle the game back on their terms at times and really, apply that pressure and get their game going, where that's that intercept mark off half-back. They've been able to free up Lever, May and Tomlinson at times just to take those marks and really generate some ball movement from there. But it's an evenly poised game. We've seen the Hawks try to take the sting out of it a little bit, haven't we? They've gone a little bit slower, uncontested marks.
We can't play that ballistic style all day.
It plays into Melbourne's hands, though, if you do that.
Yeah, you're right. So they're sort of working out how to have a good balance in the way in which they move the football. You can't be chaotic in everything that you do. You need to take some sting out of the game at times. And they're sort of learning that, and they're doing that against the best sides over the past month, Hawthorn. So they're certainly holding their end up in terms of trying to move the football at different paces throughout the day and doing a pretty good job of it.
I think you've got to tip your hat to Finn McGuinness and the job he's doing so far. Clayton Oliver just had the 6 touches to half-time, but as Koza mentioned,
had 6 himself.
So I used to go with that theory all the time. So, right, it's me against you. Where are we at? So you'd say, well, it's even, but we know that he's such a high-caliber player, Clayton Oliver. That's not actually the case. And Hawthorn would be incredibly happy with that. But it's going to what Koza was saying, we'd love to see a little bit more physicality from some other players to try and free up, Clayton Oliver. Or do we see it go the other way? Clayton Oliver, go and play next to James Warple. Go and play next to Connor Nash. Try and take them out of the game to free up one of your teammates, to really give them an extra look to try and have another free, because we know Finn McGuinness has come flying in from half forward to try and get to you.
Yeah, well, we started to see a little bit of that. You started to see Clayton Oliver get aggressive around the contest and start banging into bodies, because unfortunately no other Melbourne player was doing it for him. So he decided to get going around the contest and start to try and change some matchups, because when you are getting tagged, you need some support from your teammates. And Koza's spot on. I don't think I've seen enough of it. I've seen Sparrow lay some body into McGuinness probably once today. He's probably been the only one I've seen doing it.
What it does say is, though, that no one's not taggable. If you've got someone who's out there just purely to stop you, it is damn hard to try and get a hold of the footy. You don't see too many players that can just burn off someone who's purely out there to stop you getting the footy.
And 9 disposals from Clayton Oliver, from Christian Petrarca as well. He's been relatively quiet in that first half. Just the one kick, yeah. So Melbourne leading by 2 points at the main break. We'll bring you some of the reactions from Docklands, where the West Coast Eagles have defeated the Western Bulldogs. But for the moment, we'll pause at the MCG and get the latest from the ABC Newsroom.
This is ABC News with David Rowlands. Opponents of the Indigenous Voice to Parliament have used the launch of WA's No campaign to suggest the referendum debate is dividing the community. Australians will vote later this year on whether Indigenous Australians should be constitutionally recognised in a voice to Parliament. The WA Liberals are backing the no vote and held their event in front of roughly 1,000 supporters in Perth this morning. WA Liberal Senator Michaelia Cash says woke corporations supporting the voice would be better off donating campaign funding to local Indigenous organisations.
I think big companies should actually stick to their business. This is not a decision for the big corporates of Australia. This is a decision for individual Australians. This is a decision for individual workers.
A man is in a critical condition in hospital after a house fire in Brisbane's east. The blaze broke out on Forbes Street in Hawthorn just after 8 o'clock last night. 2 people were treated for smoke inhalation, while a 66-year-old was rushed to hospital with significant burns. Adrian Tong from the Queensland Ambulance Service says the conditions made caring for the man a challenge.
He was transported under lights and siren, and he does have very serious burns. They had to stage quite a way from the house. The house we were called to was fully engulfed. There wasn't anything left, and it also caused a couple of the structures nearby to catch alight.
The fire situation in Canada is expected to worsen in the coming days, with the predicted return of hot, dry weather after a spell of milder conditions. Tens of thousands of people are fleeing wildfires in the western province of British Columbia. In northern Canada, all 20,000 people living in the provincial capital of Yellowknife have left their homes after evacuation orders were issued. These are among some of the people who have fled.
We were told to move out by Friday midday, which we did.
When we are driving, both of the highway side, it's burned down so that all trees are black, and we still see smokes coming out.
Officials say at least 21 people have been killed in an attack near the town of Mopti in central Mali. A witness says gunmen opened fire on civilians in a village near the town. Mali's security forces have been battling a long-running Islamist insurgency. Oodnadatta residents in South Australia's outback have finally received a desalination plant for safe drinking water after decades of campaigning. The predominantly Aboriginal community largely relied on salty bore water that SA Water warned was unfit for human consumption. The newly built desalination plant will generate hundreds of thousands of litres of filtered water for residents every day. Chief Executive for Aboriginal Health Council, Shane Mahor, says he first started asking questions about the water supply in 2019.
Community are saying, well, we don't know anything different. And I just sort of couldn't comprehend it, being, I know that Adelaide's got bad water, but how bad is it here?
North Melbourne AFL player Jack Ziebell has suffered facial and head injuries in what's been described as an unprovoked attack. Fraser Fife has the story.
Jack Ziebell was celebrating his retirement with teammates and staff at a South Yarra bar in Melbourne's inner southeast after playing his last game against Richmond yesterday. Police say the 32-year-old was leaving the Commercial Road venue around 1 a.m. when he was pushed onto the road. He was then punched in the face and kicked while on the ground by 3 men. The offenders fled the scene. Ziebell has spent the night in hospital, with police investigating whether the assault may have been linked to an earlier altercation inside the venue, which led to the 3 men being removed. North Melbourne Football Club has described the incident as an unprovoked attack.
The New South Wales Sports Minister says a new mural in Sydney's Olympic Park will be a permanent reminder of the Matildas' achievements at the Women's World Cup. The state government announced today that it would commission a large-scale work outside of Stadium Australia as a tribute to the team. Minister for Sport, Steve Camper, says it's commemorating a turning point in the recognition of women's sport.
It's important that we remember this special moment, and that's why we're doing this now. I'm looking forward to them getting further and maybe winning the World Cup at the next event.
And Sydney sider Rowan Browning has ended a 28-year drought for Australia by qualifying for the 100-metre semi-finals at the World Athletics Championships. The World Athletics Championships are underway in Budapest at the moment. The last Australian male sprinter to reach this stage in the 100 metres at a world titles was Damien Marsh in 1995. That brings you up to date with the latest ABC News. For more at any time of the day or night, you can download the ABC Listen app.
There's a bigger picture to be found, a wider viewpoint. There's more than one side to every story, and you'll find so much more with ABC News Online. Around the world and from wherever you are, get a bigger picture of the stories that matter to you with explainers, live blogs and analysis. Your news, your way, every day from Australia's most trusted news source. Download the ABC News app or head to ABC News Online. Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Came out to Langdon who sent Melbourne inside 50. Tracking back on goal was Chandler. He reeled it in and marked just outside the goal square, 15 metres out. So Chandler, top of the square, makes no mistake. It's Luke Bruce. One for the afternoon. He cuts a really squaring ball into a dangerous position, and Huswaite takes the mark over Petrarca. Henry Huswaite already has one on debut. Let's fly off the left boot. Make that two for Henry.
Sicily finds Jarman empty at left half back. On the run, gets the hand pass away to Ward. He kicks the Hawks inside 50 and breaking out a great mark. 10 for Granger Barras. It's a goal last week against the Western Bulldogs. Granger Barras comes in. It's a good kick. And the Hawks are back in front. Right up for the challenge here at the MCG.
To the boundary line. Laurie, right football inside. Milksham takes the mark. Somewhat fortuitously for the D's. Milksham around the corner. He goes. Can he make it a second? He can. This time it's a goal. Jake Milksham puts it through a post height.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Great to have your company for Sunday afternoon footy at the MCG. It's Melbourne who hold a 2-point advantage against the young Hawks. 6-5-41 to Hawthorn 6-3-39. After the Hawks led by 6 points at quarter time. Macklich and Chris Rowbottom calling the action, and Cohen down on the boundary. Brett Delidio and Mark Murphy are your experts on ABC Sport. Earlier today, a shock upset with the West Coast Eagles victorious over the Western Bulldogs. Jamie Cripps was one of the stars with 5 goals. Of course, our ABC call was there. If you're ever looking for a game and you can't find it on your radio, download the ABC Listen app and just click on the AFL Extra button. Here were the key moments and some reaction from the West Coast Eagles.
Away of McNeil. He'll send the Dogs back inside 50, looking for English or Waitman. Great kick. And Waitman marks 35 out, slight angle.
It's got to hurry, but not hurry too much.
No time to waste. Waitman snaps it through. The Dogs are alive. The upset of the season. An absolute dog of a day for Luke Beveridge and his men. The Eagles win by 7 points. 14-8-92 to the Dogs. 12-13-85.
Here with Jamie Cripps, the hero today with 5 goals, 3rd win of the year. How much did you enjoy singing that song just now?
It's bloody good. It's been a tough year for us. So, to get a win against the Bulldogs is bloody awesome. So, hopefully we can keep that form to next week and send off our greats of our club.
And the boys upstairs just mentioned St Kilda gave you a bit of love on Twitter because you've just locked in a finals place for them with this win. So have you still got a soft spot for your old club?
Yeah, still love the Saints. They gave me my opportunity. So, we just wanted to come out and we knew Bulldogs were in for a sniff for the finals. So, we just wanted to disrupt as much as we can. And, it was great to get the win.
So Ben Cameron behind the mic with Jess Webster chatting with Jamie Cripps there. 5 goals for the West Coast Eagles in their upset win over the Western Bulldogs. And I guess a bit of humour from Adam Simpson at the end, Lids, as he spoke to the TV broadcast saying we tried to tank in the last 3 minutes. I guess we couldn't do it.
Yeah, well, I think, and there was question marks over the last game where he didn't want to send a loose, I think it was against Essendon, wasn't it, where they were really close, and you could lip read him in saying, no spares, we don't want to send anyone down there. So make of that what you will, but they were just too good today, essentially, and big question marks, I think, probably more so over the Dogs and where they're at, given the list that they have put together. So, watch this space for the fallout there, probably.
And Jamie Cripps signing a contract extension in the last couple of days for another few years. So what it means is that the Saints and the Sydney Swans will play finals.
We're just having a look at that, actually. Go. What are you going to say?
And the Dogs will have to win against Geelong and hope the Giants lose to the Blues. And the Roos are obviously in the prize spot now to claim the number 1 draft pick, unless they are able to beat the Gold Coast Suns in Tassie in the final round of the home and away season.
Yeah, so
and
what we're looking at... Yeah, go, sorry.
Ben Mackay,
cutting you off.
who might be going at season's end, so they might get a compensation draft pick for him. So all of a sudden, North Melbourne's hand looks rather appealing in what's been a pretty disappointing season for them, just the 2 wins.
Where's the compensation pick land these days, Lids? Are you across?
Well, I think because... Well, it's only what you hear is that, the North Melbourne are looking to try and get not a handout, but a leg up, essentially, from the AFL. So it really depends. The compensation's supposed to work in terms of what the contract is for Ben Mackay going forward as to how far down that comes down the pecking order. But I think the case that they would make is that James Frawley landed pick 3 or 4, I reckon, back in the day. 3.
It's a long way to go back, that, surely, isn't it? Or is that...
Yeah, well, that's essentially saying that he's like he's a very, very well-paid player going to Essendon. But, I think North Melbourne have probably said that if it's not somewhere near there, then they'll probably look to match it because he's a restricted free agent. So, well, yeah, that'll play out. But I think Murph and I were just looking at it off air. If the ladder stays the way it is now, all 4 games will be in Melbourne. The Pies playing the D's here at the G. The Lions would have Port Adelaide up there at the Gabba, but then we'd have the Blues and the Giants probably playing here, you'd suggest, and then the Saints and the Swans. So that'd have to be at Marvel. You would have thought, like going way back to the Hawthorn Adelaide final that they had there when Buddy kicked that monster goal from outside 50.
Yeah, there's a lot to play out, isn't there? Because if Sydney beat Melbourne next week, they probably then get a home final possibly. So there's a lot of guesswork still to go with 1 round of footy to play.
So, of course, the Demons need to win to have a top 4 finish.
We never know. Carlton could just sneak in there, clinchy if the Hawks get the job done today and then don't get the job done against Sydney next week, Melbourne. And then you might see a Carlton Collingwood 1v4 leads. How good would that be?
We have to be on that one there because I'd love to see that.
Took a little while to get there, but all of a sudden Murph's back on the Carlton bandwagon.
Hasn't he grown?
On September. The other disappointing story was the news of Jack Siebel announced his retirement and played his final game yesterday, and unfortunately the Roos lost to the Tigers with Jack Riewoldt and Trent Cotchin also playing their final game, but spent the night in hospital after an altercation at the front of a hotel, and disappointing for him and for his family on what was meant to be a night of celebration. Then unfortunately he's ended up in hospital. So that's always the concern for players when they go out in public and they're harassed by sometimes members of the public, and what a sad way to wake up this morning.
Oh, it's so disappointing and terrible that you retire, and spend your last day out on the MCG essentially, and can be on an absolute high, enjoying the time. Yeah, you've lost, but you're celebrating your career, to wind up in hospital. There's some real losers out there, that's for sure.
So facial injuries and head injuries, including a broken nose after an assault outside a South Yarra bar last night. He had these friends and family from Wodonga there to celebrate into the night after his last game for the Kangaroos. Don't forget, of course, there is coverage of the Women's World Cup final taking place between Spain and England from the Olympic Stadium in Sydney. Coverage gets underway from 7:05 Australian Eastern Standard Time with kickoff just after 8 p.m. It's on analog radio on ABC Radio in all states, metro and regional, with Victoria, Tasmania, South Australia, WA and the NT to join just after the AFL coverage. We're taking you to our next stop, which is the Fremantle Dockers taking Port Adelaide. That game just getting underway there. So for those states, of course, you'll be there straight after the footy on the DAB radio. It's available on ABC Sport Digital in capital cities, Sport Digital in Melbourne, Hobart, Adelaide, Perth and Darwin. Of course, joining after the AFL as well. And the ABC Listen app, just click on the World Cup button. That's where so much of it has been available with Ned Hall and the team. Unfortunately, the Matildas run came to an end last night, but what an incredible journey it has been. And the exciting news that the government has put some money towards women's football and grassroots football in this country. So what a memorable time it's been for the Matildas. But now to focus, well, Sam Kerr's going to be there for the next World Cup.
Yep.
Hopefully a few more players will get opportunities in the women's EPL. The players have made their way back out onto the MCG. The Demons holding a 2-point advantage with so much to play for Melbourne in the lead up to September. 6-4-41 to Hawthorn, 6-3-39. The Hawks right into it in the opening half and looking to try and provide another upset in the road to September in season 2023. Here's Chris Rowbottom to get the second half underway.
Back in the middle we go. Reeves reaches over the top of Gawn. Day gets to the loose footy first. Handball over the top to Nash. Was plucked off by Oliver, who got it to Salem. Now Sparrow. Back to Salem. He couldn't quite trap it. Eventually he did and flinged it over his head in the Varney direction. Kick forward now in the Melbourne direction. Blank will get there first. Knocked it to an advantage of a teammate, but the D's come up with it through Petrarca. The handball sold Varney into all sorts of trouble, and Hawthorn effect a turnover.
As they swing it out into the right back pocket where Connor McDonald takes the mark. Hawthorn heading to the punt road end in this third term. The first time in 5 years the Breast Cancer Network Australia games, so the pink beanies are the accessory we can see around the MCG. Up towards Lever and spoiled away by Ramsden. It stays in play for a moment, but not before Stephen May makes sure. Granger Barras goes across the boundary, centre of the southern side wing. Melbourne by 2 points. Floodlights are on here at the MCG, but for the moment, the natural light doing the job. Thrown back in, Gawn wrestles with Reeves. Gawn in front position, can't quite get a decisive tap to it. Reeves with a hand pass away to Nash, trying to link up with Warple. Oliver slides in for Melbourne. Hand pass missed Hunter, who can't break away from Connor Nash, who lays the tackle. And another stoppage on the southern wing.
Finn McGuinness already had a couple of hits from Jack Viney on a couple of occasions. Sparrow, Oliver's had a couple of disposals.
Gawn won the hit out, but it was gathered by Day. He was taken to ground as he handballed to Warple. Kicks forward, it's picked off by Lever, who's been pretty strong in defence this afternoon. He releases Rivers with a wonderful kick across half back, and he puts it straight down the throat of Petrarca. He's 65 metres out for goal. His kicking board was no good. It was along the ground in the Pickett direction. Moore went flying over the top. Tackle laid now by McDonald at ground level. It's wrenched out of there by Impey. He's claimed by Salem at ground level. Umpire arrives. We'll have a ball up 35 metres out from goal. Melbourne attacking zone, 6-5-41 the D's. The Hawks 6-3-39 opening stages of the third term.
Opening goal in Perth to Michael Frederick for the Fremantle Dockers. They're 1-1-7 to Port Adelaide, one behind. We'll take you there at the completion of this game. Warple with a quick clearing kick for the Hawks, but Max Gawn has been paid the mark at left half forward. He's 55 metres out from goal in his milestone match. He puts it towards the top of the goal square here. Gawn looks for options, sends it into the pocket, looking for Petrarca. It's over him. Neil Bullen slipped over, trying to knock it clear. Melcham gathers for Melbourne. Underground hand pass looking for Hunter. He becomes the tackler on Blank. The footy stuck underneath the two. And the umpire will ball it up in the left forward pocket for Melbourne.
Up it goes. Oliver did the ruck work, trying to get involved for the D's. Down to Petrarca now, Viney out to Sparrow. He's going to have a flying shot on goal. Right foot snap is a beauty. So something out of nothing from Sparrow as the D's draw first blood in the second half. 7-5-47 Melbourne, Hawthorn 6-3-39. Melbourne lead by 8 points, 3.5 gone. Third term for Grandstand AFL.
It's pretty smart there by Melbourne. It was Max Gawn who pulled out of the forward 50 and set up as that +1 outside, and Clayton Oliver put his hand up to take the ruck, and it sort of caught Ned Reeves a bit off guard. He didn't know what to do, and that just caused a few disruptions with the matchups there, and Sparrow was sitting out there by himself and just finished off a nice little snap around the corner from about 45.
He's an important player for him, Sparrow, I think, because he's that bigger bodied mid, but when you have got someone like Oliver who's not probably having his best day, he can really step up and take some of the load.
Averaging just under 18 disposals a game, Tom Sparrow, and got some midfield minutes when Clayton Oliver was out of the side. Gawn and Reeves back in the middle. Reeves swings down the tap, gets the clearance. Hand pass to Warple. Good acceleration of speed. Kicks looking for Bruce. Nudge McVie underneath. Swings onto his right, just as Luke Bruce does. Puts through his second goal of the match, and Hawthorn straight into the middle, into the forward 50, and Luke Bruce made it work. Hawthorn cut the margin back to 2 points Melbourne's way. 7-5-47 to Hawthorn 7-3-45. It's always amazing, a guy who grew up in New South Wales. He's got such good skills, Luke Bruce, and a classic finish.
Yeah, you can't buy experience, can you? The ability just to read that ball coming in, nudged young McVee under the play. But what I love was the ability of James Warple in the centre bounce, just to see the oncoming tacklers.
Yeah.
So, you know what, I'm going. There's very Dustin Martin-like, wasn't it? The ability to stiff arm.
Yeah, he's very
great
good defender.
We've also seen James Sicily be injected into the midfield. Looking forward to seeing what he can bring. We saw it late last year. Haven't really seen it much this year.
Matched up against Cozzy Pickett at the moment in the centre square bounce.
Gee, that's a scintillating matchup indeed as Reeves wins it down, but Gawn sharked it, just fed a handball forward, looking for territory. Day arrived first, tackled by Viney. It came out to Reeves though of the Hawks. Warple's handball was affected by Viney. It spilled out to Nash, who wanted Impey wide. He had to wait for it to bounce and did, and now he flares it wide to McDonald, who marks on the southern side. And come back inboard to Impey, who did start in that centre bounce, but looks to have settled into his natural position at half-back. He goes deep into defence to Scrimshaw, who comes out wide to Amon. Hawks have it at left half-back. Up the line goes Amon, picks out a teammate in McGuinness, who marks on his chest in front of Oliver. Short ball inside is good to Morrison.
Morrison wants to kick it in the middle of the ground for Will Day. We've got players on the overlap. He can swing it out to Hardwick on the southern side. Takes the mark, looks inside 50, and McDonald marks. Just picking holes in Melbourne's defence. Connor McDonald out to the right. He's just outside 50.
Yeah, it's a good change of angles, wasn't it? They went from one side of the ground back out to the other and just caught Melbourne a little bit off guard, and then just saw the little bit of space inside 50, and it was great kicking disposals there from Hawthorn. Great display of their efficiency by foot.
One of 5 individual goal kickers for the Hawks. McDonald gets close to Pickett on the mark, trying to gain every millimetre. And he had moved off his mark, so Pickett was able to move as well. Out on the full, no change to the score. Melbourne by 2 points. As Rivers brings it quickly into Salem, he switches it to Lever in the right back pocket.
Lever by hand to Tomlinson at right half back, sends Melbourne up the near wing. Neil Bullen just got rid of Amon and took the mark, released Sparrow by hand, and all of a sudden the D's have it at right half forward as Melksham marks. He's 60 from goal on a tight angle, pops it into the pocket. It's good. Finds a teammate in Smith.
Well, good body work from Neil Bullen out here just to edge Carl Amon underneath it, but the depth of kick from Tomlinson just haven't allowed it to get over the back, moved that ball on incredibly quickly, didn't allow Hawthorn to get set up behind. I thought the manning of the mark was actually pretty good against Melksham there. He wasn't able to move it on really quick, but such was the space that Smith had, he was able to just keep working, and just a nice little dab kick from Melksham into his path.
So to regain the lead, back in Melbourne's favour, Smith goes through his routine and steps just inside 50. He lets fly a good-looking kick all the way to the teeth, no problems whatsoever. So Smith strikes back, the Demons regain the lead. He has 2. 8-5-53 Melbourne. Hawthorn 7-3-45. 8 minutes gone. Third term, Grandstand AFL.
Yeah, it was a beautiful kick there by Joel Smith. It's a pretty tough pocket to kick goals from.
You don't see many, do you?
At the MCG.
But you know where it is, right near the race.
It is right near the race, but that pocket, and it is downhill that way too.
Yeah, well, mate, it all aligned.
just all makes sense. But it was great composure in the end by Jakey Melksham. Sometimes when you're trying to get off the mark really quick and the mark his man quite well, players tend to rush themselves, and he just took that little bit of extra time, got momentum back through the ball and put it out into space of Joel Smith really well. He's a good player up forward for them.
He's dynamic, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's agile as well, can create in the air, but then also get to work on the ground.
Melbourne with 2 goals to 1 so far in this third term. Sicily in the middle. Free kick for a hold, and it's going the Hawthorn captain's way. It's going at 100% disposal efficiency so far as he bangs Hawthorn as long as he can. Levers underneath it. Kaczynski was there. Spills the way at McVee. Hacks a kick out to half-back. Laurie couldn't quite take the mark, but he did knock it on to Neil Bullen. Hand pass out to Van Rooyen. He gathers on the members' wing. Back to Neil Bullen. Kicks up towards Melksham. Spoiled away from him by Scrimshaw. Now, one of the non-officiating umpires has said contact over the shoulder. It's coming back to Jake Melksham.
That's stiff. That was a good spoil.
Yeah, just the left arm. I think that Jakey Melksham sort of dropped his knees a little bit, and the arm slid over his shoulder.
Between wing and half forward member side, kicks looking for Joel Smith, can't take the mark, Day in front, Smith competes at ground level, Day has another go-to for the Hawks, hand pass to Nash, throwing a boot at it was Morrison, didn't clear the area, Sparrows onto it for Melbourne, deep in the left forward pocket, hand pass to Hunter, it's smothered by Morrison and goes out of play. Deep in the left forward pocket for the D's, City End, Melbourne leading by 8 points.
Good game unfolding here at the MCG. These look in the top 4 spot in the AFL ladder as Ramsden does a ruck, works Sharks by Petrarca, who was taken to ground. Now it's out to Sparrow, who weaves through some traffic. Another right foot ball on goal. This time he's missing. A minor score to the D's. Extend the margin by 1. They lead by 9, 8-6-54. Hawthorn 7-3-45.
Pretty crafty, isn't he, Sparrow? Finds space really well. Good agility. Handy footballer there for Melbourne through the midfield.
Mark Murphy with you on ABC Sport as Carl Amon brings the Hawks back into play. Short to Hardwick. Marks in the left back pocket. The West Coast Eagles 7-point winners over the Western Bulldogs earlier today. And the Fremantle Dockers with the opening 2 goals against Port Adelaide in Perth. We'll take you there at the end of this match as Harry Morrison marks in the right back pocket and works it up to Moore. Right half back on the southern side for the Hawks. Looking for options in the middle of the ground. Nothing really obvious, so he'll have to bang it as long as he can up the wing. In the pack, Ramsden was worked out of it by Van Rooyen. Still a chance. Huswaite on Deboo, gets it forward to Morrison, and now a chance for Long. He's tackled back to Huswaite. Ramsden too slow. Great tackle by Chandler. Melbourne take the advantage. Brayshaw kicks it forward. Can't get it to Melcham. Blank slaps it away and across the boundary line. A throw in the left forward pocket for the Demons. James Blank able to stand up big.
Yeah, great spoil by James Blank. Not only did he get there and make the spoil, but it went about 30 metres over the boundary because Jack Viney was sweating on it, hitting the deck.
Just turn things up a notch here, the D's. It comes from the boundary throw-in. Ramsden won it down. Nash and Viney tussle. Nash takes the footy. He's tackled by Smith, but over the line it goes. Another boundary throw-in. Melbourne lead this one 8-6-54 against a plucky Hawthorn. 7-3-45 the Hawks. So in it comes once more. 50 metres out from Melbourne's goal. Van Rooyen gets to the front. Ramsden fighting hard at ground level. Sparrow there again. Viney collects. He's tackled by Sicily. In after it was Ramsden. Got it out to Huswaite. His handball missed Sicily, and the Diesel fight hard through Brayshaw, who laid a tackle on Morrison. Nash might have thrown it out to Moore. He was tackled by May, but good enough to get the hands free and release Kazitsky. His ball up the line is a good one. Denver Granger Barras marks on his chest.
Hand pass to Connor McDonald, who can feed it back to Morrison. Wants to chip it inboard. Sparrow works his way in front of Huswaite and takes the mark. Melbourne on the counter-attack. Kicks wide, looking for Viney. He marks between wing and half forward. Shane Warne stands side. He's going to come back inboard to Hunter, who gathers on the half volley. Kicks towards the top of the 50. Neil Bullen's there. He's outnumbered 2-on-1. And Weddle flies over the back to take the mark for the Hawks. Interesting game for both sides, with Van Rooyen playing up the ground and Melbourne almost playing a small forward line and James Sicily going into the midfield.
Yeah, they're really trying to play small ball at the moment, aren't they?
Just both sides trying to play some slightly different styles as Carl Amon from left half back up to Bruce. They've got options at half forward. Granger Barras marks. Hand pass to Moore. He plays on. Corralled by Tomlinson. A centering kick. It's just wide of Ramsden. It might spill to Sicily. He gathers. Needs support. Hand pass to Morrison. Right on 50. To the right and then back to the left. A centering kick looking for Ward. Can't take the mark against May. It spills to Bruce. He swings onto his left. Luke Bruce offline to the left-hand side. Melbourne lead by 8 points.
It's almost like young Ramsden didn't realise the ball was going to be kicked to him. He didn't quite pivot off his right foot and come back at the footy as quick as what Moore thought he was going to do, but just get them trying to find another option inside 50 by the Hawks, and Bruce almost finishes.
Bowie had Hunter in the right back pocket. He received the handball back from Hunter, but he's mowed down. The Hawks turn it over. Kazitsky takes the mark inside 50. He squares it up to McDonald. And he'll kick for goal number 2 from a very similar position to where he kicked goal number 1, Connor McDonald.
Great pressure, Harry Morrison. Get over there and give him a little tap on the head. Ability to just follow up with his work. Didn't give up on the chase. As soon as Bowie decided to cut back in, he was a sitting duck, wasn't he? Great tackle, and then Sicily takes full advantage. Ziski little square up.
So Connor McDonald for goal number 2 from 40 metres out, directly in front. Has he put it through? I think he has. Connor McDonald celebrates, and the Hawks won't go away. Margin cut down to 2. Melbourne 8-6-54, Hawthorn 8-4-52, 14.5 gone third term. We've got a game on our hands for Grandstand AFL.
We certainly do have a game on our hands, and one player I've been really impressed with is the big Ned Reeves. I think he's done a really good job on Max Gawn. He's competed really hard in the contest, and he's had 18 hit-outs to Max's 9, which you very rarely see Max getting beaten in the ruck contest, but his work around the ground's been pretty important in terms of just trying to even up the contest. The big man from Hawthorn doing a really good job.
We usually see Maxi Gawn really try and stretch the opposition ruckman by going deep and hard forward, but big Ned, to his credit, has stuck with him, made a contest every step of the way.
Hawks have played 2 rucks at various stages throughout the season with Lloyd Meek as well, but fighting for that number 1 role. Reeves up against Gawn here, wins down the tap. Sicily hand pass straight to Gawn though. Feeds the hand pass away to Langdon, members side. Kicks out in front of Clayton Oliver. He races after it. Warple after him, dodging and weaving as he cuts back on his right. Kicks inside 50. Dave floats in front and takes an excellent mark. Just had the size on Laurie as he takes the mark and feeds the hand pass away to Carl Amon. Chips it out in front of Impey. Salem the other direction. Impey knocks it forward. Swooping onto it, Bowie. Looks inside 50. Miss Melcham. Couldn't get it to Smith. But knocking it down Day. Straight to Melcham. Onto the right and puts it through for Melbourne. Jake Melcham with his 3rd. After a slow start, it's all starting to click for the Milkman here at the MCG. Melbourne by 8 points. 9-6-60 to Hawthorn 8-4-52. And an unusual error from Will Day in defence.
Yeah, the Milkman. Is he just christening him that one just then, Clinchy?
No, I think that's what he rolls by. Is that right? Maxi Gawn was calling him.
Yeah,
the Milkman delivering.
Yeah, a bit harsh on Will Day. I'm not sure. He probably could have marked it if he had gone back a little bit harder, but it's not really the place you want to tread, is it, with the ball going over your head?
You almost need to keep on spoiling in that direction to get it over the boundary line.
Get it over the boundary line, all right.
He got caught in a really sort of sticky spot trying to whether or not to spoil it or to try and mark it with the one hand, but just try to clear the area probably next time.
3 goals 4 now to Jake Melksham as Melbourne attempt to get it back out of the middle, but Ned Reeves is going to have a say as he propels Hawthorn forward. The mark though taken by Lever at centre half back for the D's. Away they go now off half back through Tomlinson, who comes wide. So Langdon takes the mark at right half back, pokes a short ball in to Bowie, just moves it a little further afield to McVee. He marks in front of Huswaite, just back of the wing. Short ball to Bowie.
They almost go to the same hairdresser, I reckon, Hawthorn's. A lot of flowing mullets out there.
I was going to say the same thing before.
Certainly in vogue at the Hawks. As Rivers now knocks out a really nice ball to Christian Salem. Thought about the handball receive on the way past. So Salem has it in front of the interchange benches. Melbourne looking to put something together as they move things ahead now. Inside 50 they go with a long kick. Gawn at the back got hands to it, couldn't bring it down. Long at the fall of the ball for the Hawks, missed the handball. Brayshaw was there for the Demons. He's hassled over the line by Weddle. Ian Collins on the boundary.
Well, he might be a little bit nervous, but Gillon McLaughlin's just moved into the umpire's bench and he's sitting there. Maybe he might be waiting for a last-minute review. Who knows?
The outgoing CEO hands-on in the penultimate round of the home and away season. After fronting the cameras this morning and admitting that the AFL had made an error, the umpire didn't go for the video review and the goal should have been called. Moore wins a free kick for the Hawks as he looks to retreat back and finds Will Day. He chips it to Carl Amon, who marks in the left back pocket for Hawthorn. Melbourne 9-6-60, leading Hawthorn 8-4-52. 19 minutes gone, third term here at the MCG. As Carl Amon kicks up towards half-back, Reeves and Gawn in a tangle. Kaczynski flies from the back. Front and centre, it's gathered by Long, gets the hand pass away. Moore couldn't gather. Ramsden's taken over the boundary line. The umpire says throw it in.
Doing really well around the ball at the moment, Hawthorn. They're leading the clearances 23-16. They do that without John Newcomb, and especially against the Melbourne midfield led by Max Gawn. They're competing really well around the contest.
Oliver just the 9 disposals for Melbourne. Petrarca Up to 12. Reeves does the ruck work here down to Warple, who feeds out a handball. Here is Oliver, can't gather the footy. McGuinness hassling him. Sicily has it for Hawthorn, has to be careful. Just rode the Chandler tackle and then got it off to Amon, who sends a left foot ball up the wing, going back with real bravery. It was Ned Long, and he took the mark just inside the boundary.
Jake Lever certainly made him earn that one.
It was as courageous as it was skillful. We'll go all the way now back to Amon, who's at left half back for the Hawks, and he goes even further again to Will Day, who's the only man inside the defensive 50 for Hawthorn. He comes out wide to Blank, who shares it with Impey.
Looking for options up the southern wing, nothing presents, so he goes back to Day. Hawthorn are playing their own style at the moment and trying to force Melbourne into frustration. Back to Sicily, kick looking for more. Spoiled away by Brayshaw. Turns it over, Lever gathers, chips it out towards Neil Bullen. He can't take the mark as Moore spoils it down. Ward couldn't gather. Neil Bullen back onto it inside 50 to Pickett, who marks on his chest. That's the problem with playing cat and mouse. If you make an error, you're forced to pay.
Yeah, it's almost lazy from James Sicily, that
a bit lackadaisical, wasn't it?
Decision to go inside. It probably wasn't really there. He could have gone outside and hit the easy one, but that's the way they like to play Hawthorn, be aggressive with ball in hand and go through the corridor, but certainly bit off more you could chew there.
33 goals for the season for Cosy Pickett. Just the 2 disposals so far this afternoon. Looking for his first impact on the game. Not a great kick as it flares out to the right. What happened there? Did not hit the footy well, and in the end the mark's taken by Will Day, and he chips it into the back pocket where Dylan Moore marks. Looks for a risky kick through the middle of the ground, didn't hit a target. Salem tries to knock it on. McInnes is there for the Hawks, works it to Warple, run down by Pickett, holding the ball. Melbourne take it back in the middle of the MCG.
Terrific tackle from Pickett as Warple and Pickett just get into it. Pickett says, "Get off me." Slings him to the ground, takes the footy and goes short to Rivers. It's a good tackle because the Hawks were away through the middle of the ground. Lever marks it right half forward. 65 from goal. Pokes it wider to Max Gawn, who runs to 55 and puts it to the top of the goal square. Who can take a mark? It's off hands. That was poor from the Hawthorn defence, but they might get away with it. Scrimshaw forced to scramble the ball outside 50. It's all Melbourne who are set up well behind the footy. Ends up with Tomlinson, who comes wide to Lever. They'll have another crack from right half forward. The D's lead by 8. Lever pokes the ball inside 50, tries to spot up Max Gawn, off hands Finn McGuinness, handball over the top to Amon. Got some time to assess his options up the line, but he's got absolutely nothing to kick to. It's all red and blue. Rivers time enough to drop the mark. Then he has to shimmy and shake away from Dylan Moore. He could only just do so. Got away the hands. Viney ends up with it for Melbourne. Over the top now to Brayshaw. Inside 50 they go again. Day well positioned for the Hawks. Knocked it down. Petrarca tracks it. Brayshaw was there. Hardwick tracked it over the boundary, and we'll have a ball in 15 metres around from the right-hand behind post. Melbourne attacking zone.
They need to reset here, the Hawks. They've got no one ahead of the footy. Everyone's behind it at the moment, trying to stop the goals.
It's got a bit of a Terry Wallace feel about it. They're part of the bus. Trying to prevent Melbourne from scoring. They're not offering too much in the air. Reeves takes it out of the ruck. Hand pass to McInnes. Kicks towards halfback. Floating in front of it was Rivers. He gathers in front of Bruce. Off balance, kicks to the pocket. Van Rooyen's the only real effort for Melbourne. A block's put on him, and Sicily took the mark, but it's going to be Van Rooyen's shot on goal. That was a little bit sloppy from the Hawks. They had it easily covered. Carl Amon just tried to back into Van Rooyen and prevent his run at the ball.
Yeah, well, you expect your wingers to be in there guarding space. He probably just got caught up, and we know how hard this guy attacks the footy.
Yeah. But it's got to be a bit more subtle in the way in which you try and block. He just stood in front of him, didn't he?
Yeah, I don't mind it though, because I want to see the big boys fly for their marks.
The second-year teammate in the right forward pocket with one already. Jacob Van Rooyen comes in. And the ruse around the MCG. As the Demons string a couple on the trot together to extend their lead to 14 points. 10-6-66 to Hawthorn 8-4-52. 24 minutes gone, third term on ABC Sport. Meanwhile in Perth, quarter time, with the Dockers kicking the first 2 goals of the match. A response from Port Adelaide with the next 2. So it's the Fremantle Dockers who lead by a point. 2-4-16 to Port Adelaide 2-3-15. Mark Murphy and Brett Delidio with you on ABC Sport.
Well, the ball's certainly living in Melbourne's front end at the moment. Hawthorn are getting numbers back, as we just have been discussing, but they just need to be better at resetting from whether that's a stoppage or trying to get the ball outside their D50. There's no point getting all your numbers back and having nothing to kick to on the way out. So they just need to be a bit smarter with what they're doing outside of the play, or that next chain of possession play, having representation outside their D50.
Melbourne starting to flex its muscle. 4 goals to 2 in this term as Varney breaks away from the centre bounce and hits up a target in Laurie at right half forward. His kick's going to be chopped off by Sicily, who couldn't quite complete the chest mark. He'll let Sparrow in, but the cavalry arrives for Hawthorn as Day breaks a tackle, feeds a handball now to Warple, and he gives it to Nash on centre wing. Inside 50 go the Hawks to a contest. Tomlinson got in front, but at the fall was Moore. Picked it up cleanly, centre right, ball roller all the way to the mouth of goal. It dribbles through for a minor score. Golden opportunity for the Hawks goes begging. 10-6, 66 the D's, Hawthorn 8-5, 53.
Just didn't get the bounce he wanted. Did he?
Didn't at all.
Did a little banana along the ground, but just got the right foot, or the right little bounce, a little off break rather than a leg break.
Only that's me. They pitch off the back of the green and roll 10 metres past as May gathers. He chips it back into the corridor inside the defensive 50 and Sailor marks. Melbourne lead by 13 points, but Hawthorn would be happy with the fact that the game is still very much alive. Stephen May in the left back pocket receives the kick and sends it out towards Hunter and takes the mark in front of Morrison at left half back. Lockie Hunter looks for options. He's got Max Gawn down the wing. He tries to put it into his path. He marks down low in front of Reeves, the Melbourne captain in game 200 this afternoon, alongside Alex Neil-Bullen, who's playing his 150th. Comes inboard to Chuck McVie. The young demon chips it further afield, and Salem marks just in front of the AFL logo on the southern side.
Salem wants a 50-metre penalty here for a encroachment over the mark. He's not going to get it. So on centre wing, he spots up Oliver. Marks in front of McGuinness. Gets things moving by hand now to Rivers at left half forward for the D's. Pokes it inside 50 to Lockie Hunter. Marks right on the 50 on a pretty tight angle.
Points to the goals too. Reckons he's got it in his leg.
Something pretty special from Lockie Hunter. He comes around onto his left foot. He just pulls the kick in the Petrarca direction. He's got 3 Hawks for company. Emerging with it was Laurie. Got a handball out in the Pickett direction. Patted it back out to Hunter. Tried to get onto his left boot. He's dispossessed. Morrison's kick was smothered. It goes out of bounds. And we'll have a boundary throwing 45 metres out from the left-hand behind post. Melbourne's forward 50.
Yeah, they got lucky there, Hawthorn, because they had numbers back again and didn't have anything to go to. So it was almost lucky in a way that the ball's dribbled out of bounds and they get to reset and try and set up ahead of the footy.
Mark Murphy with you. Finn McGuinness alongside Oliver as it's thrown back in. Reeves knocks it down to the front. Connor Nash gathers. Out past to Warple. Links up with Moore. Back to Nash. Ran out of runway as he's knocked out of play by Jack Viney. A boundary throw in between wing and half forward for the Demons. They must have had a lot of inside 50s, it feels like.
It was 16-6 before.
This third term. Have a look for me. Let's as it's thrown back into play. Reeves and Gawn in a tangle. Gawn wins down the tap, but it's Nash for the Hawks who gathers defensive side. Hand pass away to Moore. Drives a long kick up towards Kajitsky. Flying from behind. Tomlinson spills the way of Granger Barras. He's locked up by McVie. And the umpire will ball it up at half forward for the Hawks.
17-7. Clinchy, the inside 50s. Been a domination by the D's in this quarter.
You can understand, in a way, some of the forwards from Hawthorn trying to get up the ground and try and help out the defence when they're getting so many entries.
Deep into the third term. Melbourne will come away with it. Petrarca links up with Viney. Back to Hunter now. They're on the outer side. He's forced to just kick under pressure. High ball towards left half forward. Fist flew. Sparrow at the fall. He's wrapped up, though, and wrapped up well by Hardwick. We'll have a ball up at left half forward for Melbourne. 29 minutes gone in this third term. 4 goals to 2. The Demons' way. Warple off the tap, gave it to Sicily. Just a no-look kick to green grass. In fact, it might be out of the fall. That's insufficient intent. So Melbourne free kick via Rivers, who goes back to May.
What have you made of James Sicily, the midfielder?
I like him behind the ball a little bit more. think he plays more as that half back when he is on ball, which probably doesn't allow him to get forward enough.
May up towards Melcham and Gawn, and Melcham in front position claims the mark. He's 53 metres out. You'd imagine this is beyond him. He's gone back with the intent that maybe it's not. And the siren sounds at three-quarter time, so now only the one option.
Drop a torpedo here.
Melcham
he has to.
With 3 goals, 4 for the match. Umpire telling him he can't move off his line. He's not setting up for the barrel at the moment. Surely he can't kick a drop punt 55, 60 metres. Jake Melcham after the three-quarter time siren gives it everything he's got. It's not a bad effort, but it's going to land about 5 metres short. And the Hawks' numbers were there on the last line to make sure there was no chance it was going to clear. Three-quarter time here at the MCG. Melbourne with a top 4 spot on the line, lead by 13 points, 10-6-60 to Hawthorn 8-5-53. The Demons with 4 goals to 2 in that third term after Melbourne led by just 2 points at half-time and Hawthorn led by 6 at quarter-time. For the Demons, 3 goals to Jake Melcham, 2 goals to Joel Smith and 2 goals to Jacob Van Rooyen, individuals to Brayshaw, Sparrow and Chandler, while for the Hawks, 2 goals to Connor McDonald, 2 goals to Luke Bruce alongside Henry Huswaite on debut, individuals to Day and Granger Barras. The 2 subs haven't been used as yet, Sarong for the Hawks and Shaki for the Demons, and there was a late change with Jai Newcomb out of the lineup for Hawthorn and Henry Huswaite coming in on debut, and he's kicked a couple of goals, the 19-year-old from Rosebud, and good to see on social media some of his mates were on a Mad Monday and cheering him on the big screen, so no doubt a good moment for them to share in the delight of their good mate. Earlier today, it was a stunning victory for the West Coast Eagles, prevailing with 5 goals to 2 in the final term, winning by 7 points over the Western Bulldogs. Jamie Cripps booted 5 goals. It means that Sydney and the Saints are guaranteed September action, and the final round of the AFL season will very much decide the fate of the Western Bulldogs and GWS. And just the start of the second quarter in Perth, it's the Dockers leading by a point over Port Adelaide, 2-4-16 to Port Adelaide, 2-3-15. We'll take you there at the completion of this game. Sunday afternoon footy from the MCG on Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio, ABC Sport Digital, and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
With the ABC Listen app, you can take the footy with you wherever you go. Off to walk the dog?
Take the footy.
Going camping?
Take the footy.
Picnic in the park?
Take the footy.
ABC Sport's expert coverage of the AFL
Incredible grab.
and the NRL. Every goal, try, mark and tackle, live and commercial free. So whatever you're up to,
Take the footy.
take the footy with you on the ABC Listen app.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Oliver did the rough work trying to get involved for the D's. Down to Petrarca now, Viney out to Sparrow. He's going to have a flying shot on goal. Right foot snap is a beauty. So something out of nothing from Sparrow as the D's draw first blood in the second half.
Gawn and Reeves back in the middle. Reeves swings down the tap, gets the clearance. Hat past to Warple. Good acceleration of speed. Kicks looking for Bruce. Nudge McVie underneath. Swings onto his right, just as Luke Bruce does. Chips it out in front of Impey. Sailing the other direction. Impey knocks it forward. Swooping onto it, Bowie. Looks inside 50. Missed Melcham. Couldn't get it to Smith. But knocking it down Day. Straight to Melcham. Onto the right. Puts it through for Melbourne. Jake Melcham with his third after a slow start. It's all starting to click for the Milkman here at the MCG. Looking in front of it was Rivers. He gathers in front of Bruce. Off balance, kicks to the pocket. Van Rooyen's the only real effort for Melbourne. A block's put on him and Sisley took the mark, but it's going to be Van Rooyen's shot on goal. The second-year Demon in the right forward pocket with one already. Jacob Van Rooyen comes in. And the ruse around the MCG as the Demons string a couple on the trot together to extend their lead to 14 points.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Three-quarter time of the MCG. The Demons leading the Hawks by 13 points. Matt Clinch and Chris Rowbottom calling the action. And Cohen down the boundary. The thoughts of Brett Delidio and Mark Murphy on ABC Sport.
Yeah, it was a real park the bus quarter for Hawthorn, wasn't it? They just didn't want to, really go forward or allow Melbourne to. They had a run on, and I think Sam Mitchell identified that really quickly. We saw Sicily start in the midfield, but I think that allowed Will Day. We saw him spend a lot of time in that quarter, deep behind the footy, trying to be the +1, trying to give him that opportunity to, either spoil or just be that extra player down there that could intercept and be an option. So. I think it resulted in what's inside 50s here, 18-7. So the domination in terms of where they actually played the game, the Ds.
It was all to the right of screen, wasn't it? And Hawthorn did pretty well to hold up for most of that quarter. But
4 goals won to
2-2.
2-2. So, it was they did well, but they need to come out here and potentially try and kick one early, I reckon, the Hawks, just to get their confidence and belief back up to go forward with the footy rather than just try and hold possession and go sideways and lateral. Because they were doing it in the first half, or first quarter especially, and looked really, really good.
Yeah, well, they lost a bit of structure, didn't they, ahead of the football, with all the ball being inside Melbourne's forward 50 or forward half of the ground. It was Hawthorn's high half forwards and wingers getting back to support, but then just having nothing to go to on the way out. So they just need to tidy up that little bit where they are getting back to support, but then working really hard outside of that D50 to provide options for their teammates ahead of the football, and then getting stoppages where possible so they can then reset ahead of the footy. But we've got Sicily going back. I didn't mind the experiment of having him inside the centre square bounce. It's good for a little bit of a change up, but have your All-Australian half-back flanker in where he knows best, and that's on a half-back flank.
Melbourne by 13 points as we're set to head into the final term. The Demons looking to keep their top 4 hopes alive, and the Hawks looking for a massive final term. From the middle, it's Warple that gets the clearance. He kicks inside 50. Bruce can't take the mark. Bowie turn it over. Onto it more. Fires on goal. How quick was that? The opening 15 seconds. And the Hawks are on the board. Gives them plenty of fire to start this final term. Sorry, Mert. 9-5-59, trailing Melbourne, 10-6-66.
Well done, Dylan Moore. Got the hand in to get the intercept where Bowie looked like he was going to release to a teammate. They're going to get the ball out of their D50, Melbourne, but good little hustle and work rate to firstly intercept the ball, but then just to follow up and kick the goal around the corner. Great little bit of forward craft there. Nice bit of hustle.
How good is it when something comes off what you just said? There's like they need a good goal early to get their momentum up and going. It's good for the belief of the Hawks. Hopefully they can ride this and really apply that pressure and keep the foot on the throat. So right, we know how good you are, Melbourne, and here we come.
Ian Cohen's on the boundary.
Hawthorn have swung the tactical change, and it is Ramsden out and Sarong in. Shaki still sitting on the bench for the Demons.
Petrarca tackled by Day, got the hands free and got it to Sparrow at inside 50. He spots a man all on his own in Neil Bullen, who marks 45 metres out, 45-degree angle. D's looking for the instant response.
Yeah, it's a little breakdown there, I think, for the Hawks. They all went forward to defend to try and apply that pressure, which you wouldn't mind, but you've still got to be able to turn your head a little bit as well. Realise that a little half-forward shot out the back. Neil Bullen, he's 150th.
The milestone man, Neil Bullen, inside the paint of 50, sends this all the way to the line, and another one falls short. Mark taken by Reeves, so no score. Demons, and he kicks across goal to Carl Amon. Ramsden out of the game for the Hawks. Jai Sarong injected as the sub. Short ball to Connor Nash now, inside defensive 50. Hawks have the footy.
As he looks to retreat back and chips it to Carl Amon. In Perth, Port Adelaide, 3-3-21. Leading Fremantle 2-4-16. Second quarter action there. We'll take you there for the second half. As the Hawks work it through Carl Amon and Hardwick Marks in the right back pocket.
Just try and go around here again, but we get forced down the line.
Sends it up towards half-back. Jake Lever sets himself. He spoils it down. Straight into the path of Nash. He kicks it straight up the wing to Stephen May. The Melbourne defender gathers. Reloads inside 50. Setting himself in from the side. Unable to take the mark was Chandler. And Hunter takes it across the boundary line. And a throw in. So Sarong into the action, and he's alongside Jack Melcham. So straight into the action and alongside the most dangerous forward in the match so far.
Well, no one else could stop him. So try your hand, young fella. Good luck.
Sam Mitchell putting full faith into his substitute as Reeves had gone battle the ruck at ground level. Warple scraps a kick forward, rides the Brayshaw tackle. Arriving on the bounce and picking up really cleanly was McDonald. Sends a right foot ball to right half forward. One-on-one, McVee and Bruce. And McVee outpointed his far more experienced opponent, took a really good mark, and now he cuts him board and finds Petrarca.
Petrarca out to Stephen May at left half back, members side. Looks long down the wing. He's got Brayshaw running into space. Blank comes out, spoils it down, leaves Brayshaw on the turf. Connor McDonald runs onto it. Hand pass to Scrimshaw. Links up with Huswaite. He tries to kick towards half forward. Little nudge on Kaczynski from Tomlinson. Kaczynski lays the tackle. It's Tomlinson gathers. Locks the ball up at half forward for the Hawks.
Good result for the Hawks there, getting a stoppage forward half of the ground. Get another setup. They've been good around the clearances today as well, Hawthorn. So first opportunity of the footy.
D's by 7 points. Hawks kick first goal of this final term within the first 15 seconds as Hunter might have got one high, ducked in it and out of a tackle, then into another one from Dylan Moore, and he's been pinged.
Yeah, good umpiring. Tried to slip the tackle, get a draw of high free kick, but full credit to the Hawks who stayed low on the tackle and the umpire didn't fall for it.
Dylan Moore wins a holding the ball free kick, 55 from goal. He pops it into the pocket, into a nest of demons, it has to be said, and Kaczynski was the target, but it's easily dealt with over for a boundary throw-in 30 metres around from Hawthorn's right-hand behind post.
If you want to get in touch with us, 0437 774 774. Let us know where you're listening from on this Sunday afternoon. Thrown back in, Gawn in front position, palms it down. Nash left it for Kaczynski. Hand pass to Moore, trying to get through traffic. Bowie lays the tackle, spills back towards Max Gawn. Kicks a high ball towards halfback. Weddle's underneath it, Neil Bullen as well. It bounces off Petrarca's chest. Neil Bullen swoops onto it. Weddle locks him up with support from Warple, and the umpire gives him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, I thought if you try to defend, you should be gone.
I agree.
Ball up right on the 50. Hawthorn pressing. Gawn wins it down. Warple swoops on the footy. Out to Hardwick, who tries to just nurse one into the pocket. Scrimshaw meets it on the bounce. Out to Kaczynski. Breaks a tackle. Off to Bruce. Thought about the shot on goal. Runs to the boundary. Sends it goalward across the face. Lever spikes it over and just relieves the pressure. So a minor score to the Hawks, who trail by a goal. 10-6-66 Melbourne. Hawthorn 9-6-60. Early stages, fourth and final term here at the MCG for Grandstand AFL.
Trenton Rivers leading possession getter for the Demons with 23. Kicks in for Melbourne to Sparrow. They're on the break here. Out towards Langdon on the southern wing. Takes the mark. Can he clear? Sarong as he gets a fist onto it, looking for Smith. Great work from the youngster. The sub gets a free kick. So he did better than just spoil it and defuse the situation. He won the footy back for the Hawks. He swings it across the defensive 50 to Jarman. MPU marks in the back pocket. Kicks looking for Granger Barras. He has to spoil against Oliver, and it goes out of play in front of the Olympic stand. And there's plenty of Melbourne fans watching on, not far from Ian Cohen.
Josh Shackey warming up. The T-shirt has come off, and I think Adam Tomlinson is going to be the tactical sub out of the game.
And it comes from the boundary throw in. Reeves got to the front. Oliver with a flick handball over the shoulder. It was magnificent to Brayshaw. He releases Max Gawn, who lopes inside 50 on the run. Max Gawn, it would have been something, but he misses to the near side. Does Max Gawn. As you just heard, Shackey about to be ejected into the game for Tomlinson. So both teams with their sub activated. Ramsden out of the game for the Hawks. Shackey in for the D's.
Carl Lamon's kick was risky. Morrison took the mark in the end. Nash through the middle of the crowd is able to link up, and Warple's on the run, receives the hand pass from Scrimshaw, gets it to Kaczynski, long kick inside 50, looking for Granger Barras. In fact, it is unable to take the mark with Lever providing good support. Knocks it down to Salem, kicks up towards Hunter at left half back. Now Neil Bullen. Melbourne now on the attack. He works his way to centre wing. Chips in more to Petrarca. He's got Smith free inside 50. Can he get the kick there? Sets it towards Cosy. But in front it's Van Rooyen who takes the mark. In the end, all the Melbourne forwards wanted to have a fly at it. But it's the young second-year team and Jacob Van Rooyen who takes the mark.
Well, I thought Cosy Pickett was going to take mark of the century there. And he jumped on someone's back, but Van Rooyen was there in the right spot. And good grab by the young forward.
He attacks it hard, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Love the way he goes about it. He's just big centre forward. He's a good player, this kid.
With 2 goals already next to his name, Jacob Van Rooyen looking for the steadier for Melbourne. Directly in front, 35 metres out. Van Rooyen comes in and puts it through. The Demons answer back, a goal apiece in this final term. And Melbourne lead by 13 points, 11-7, 73 to Hawthorn 9-6, 60.
Well, go back to Jake Lever in the back line there, last line. Ability to not just spoil, but win the ball back as well. Granger Barras, if he had his time again, would love to just get that ball to ground or out of bounds. Give his small forwards a chance. But well done, Lever. He moved the ball on, and then it was Neil Bullen. He had the opportunity maybe to keep going forward and go long, because there were forwards out, but it would have been having a shot from probably 35, 40 plus outside, inside 50, sorry, but he went inside Petrarca, then they could get that extra depth on the kick and give Van Rooyen a real good look at it. Great finish from the big fella.
So it was a 13-point margin at three-quarter time. Hawthorn kicked the opening goal of the term, and now Melbourne hit back, and it's back out to 13 points. In the middle, Warple extracts it out to Ward on a wing. Back inside to Huswaite, who needs to get rid of it and does. Goes the 1-2 with Reeves. It was ambitious. He's brought down in a lorry tackle, and he's stopped in his tracks in the middle of the MCG.
Sam Mitchell's dropped the Finn McGuinness on Clayton Oliver tag. He's obviously gone all out attack here. That's been the message at three-quarter time.
Sparrow off hands is wrapped up by Huswaite. We'll have another restart right in the heart of the MCG. Nash out to Warple, who just kicked it off the ground only as far as Bowie, who has time and space upon gathering the footy. Flares it wide to the near side. Neil Bullen couldn't take the mark. Weddle did well, went in and got after it. Eventually Neil Bullen, though, won the day, came up with the footy, and here is Oliver. Receives the handball, and now over the top is Hunter. He handballs to Salem. Left football inside 50 for the D's. Van Rooyen goes up, couldn't drag it down. Off hands is a free kick. It'll go to Melksham. So at the base of the pack, Hardwick just got in high as they both fought for the footy at ground level. And Jake Melksham will kick for goal number 4, just inside 50. An angle slightly greater than a 45.
Just a bit clumsy, wasn't it, from Hardwick? Just would love his aggressiveness, but just a bit too clumsy there in the contest against Melksham and went too high.
This would get the lead out to a game high 19. Melksham has had his woes in the set shots this afternoon, and this one won't be a goal all the way to the line. On the goal line, Sicily is tackled by Gawn as Connor Nash just disguises a fumble over the line. A minor score for Melbourne. 11-8, 74 the D's. Hawthorn 9-6, 60.
Straight down the middle, the kick towards Granger Barras from Carl Amon. Didn't hit the target. Rivers is onto it. Hand pass to Sparrow. Inboard to Clayton Oliver. He links up with Chandler. Edge of the centre square. Into the pocket looking for Hunter. A laser-like pass as he marks deep in the left forward pocket. He's still around 40 metres out though.
Yeah, well already we've seen Clayton Oliver get involved quite a few times. He's just had that freedom. I wish Ross Lyon would have done that a few years ago. He didn't release any tags.
Did he get tagged, did you?
Nah, never. I just saw blokes who did.
But it is an interesting call, isn't it, to drop it when he's done such a good job on him all day to three-quarter time.
Petrarca's had 4 disposals in the final term. Oliver 2. Here's Hunter out to the left. It's offline and across the face of goal. Reeves is there. Gawn can't get there, and he takes the mark. Big Ned Reeves up against the left behind post. Melbourne by 14 points. 12 minutes gone, final term.
Reeves deep in defence. He's going to just send one agriculturally up the line, looking for Granger Barras on a long lead, but it's knocked out of bounds. We'll have a throw in, 65 metres around from Melbourne's goal. Lead by 14 points. Both substitutes made. Tomlinson and Ramsden both out of the game. Shaki and Sarong both in as it's knocked forward by Gawn in the Petrarca direction. Gathers a loose footy. Short ball into the pocket, and there is Shaki the sub. Marks on a tight angle, 40 metres out from goal.
How about the hit out from Max Gawn? Just he's hit Petrarca about 25 metres away from the stoppage. Who had a bit of space ahead of the footy and just knocked it straight in his direction. perfect by Big Max.
Josh Shackey to extend the margin to 20. Left foot ball is on its way. It was always a little skinny. Minor score for the D's. 11-9, 79 Melbourne, Hawthorn 9-6, 60. 13.5 gone. Fourth and final term.
In Perth, Port Adelaide 4-3, 27. Leading Fremantle 3-5, 23. We'll take you there at the completion of the game. Blake Hardwick's gone with a barrel. It hasn't worked out all that well as he didn't get purchase onto it. And Jake Lever marks at left half forward. Melbourne are peppering finishing this contest. Lever swings out to the right. Long kick inside 50. Melcham worked his way to the front. Couldn't hang on to the mark. And the umpire will ball it up 15 metres out. The Melbourne fans at the punt road end thought he might have had a free kick.
I think it just came off the forearm of Blake all the way through, but pretty stiff not to get the mark there.
Kaczynski doing the ruck work against Petrarca. It spills down to Oliver. Oliver dodging, weaving, jams it onto his left. An impossible goal. Twisting and turning and finishing. Free of Finn McGuinness and steering through a goal in the final term. Melbourne out by 21 points. 12-9-81 to Hawthorn 9-6-60. Clayton Oliver back to doing what he does best.
That's exactly why you don't drop it, isn't it? Like we've seen Finn McGuinness go forward and try and nullify the influence of Jake Lever. He's not a defensive half forward. He's an on-ball run-with player. Unfortunately, it's cost them another goal. Clayton Oliver with just forward craft that no one's really as accountable as what Finn McGuinness has been. They didn't lock him down and make sure that he doesn't sniff it. As most midfielders do, they try and win the footy themselves. And unfortunately, he's one of the best. Look at that.
That's just will to win the footy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's aggressive, wasn't it?
So a game high, 21-point margin here at the MCG, and here is Oliver once again. This time he's harassed by Day, and Warple comes away with it for the Hawks, who send them inside 50. Shallow entry, and Lever gets across and saves the day, as he's done so many times this afternoon. Takes a really good intercept mark.
He's had a good day, hasn't he, Jake Lever? He's always been in the right position today.
So Lever from inside defensive 50, kicks to the near wing in the Gawn direction, blank over the back, only as far as Petrarca, whose handball found Neil Bullen, and now Laurie spun out of trouble and got his kick away. To left half forward go the D's. Melksham trapped it with his foot, but it ended up with Sarong, and now Weddley missed the handball to Impey, bouncing ball now, pounced upon by Petrarca, around the body, mark it down. Christian Petrarca strikes. And Melbourne's two superstars are officially off the chain. Melbourne out by 27, 13-9-87 the D's, 9-6-60 the Hawks, 16 minutes gone. Fourth and final turn for Grandstand AFL.
Well, they're both superstars, Clayton Oliver and Christian Petrarca, and you're not going to have a day where they're both down for four quarters. They've both been pretty influential in this last quarter when the game's certainly on the line, and they've both kicked the last couple of goals. But just good pressure again by Melbourne. They're forcing the mistakes or forcing the skill errors from Hawthorn, who have gallantly fought on today, but this last quarter they've been just a little bit more polished, the D's.
Well, this last half, really, the D's, I reckon, they've shut down Hawthorn's ability to actually go forward with the footy. They played that game nearly the whole entire half in their forward half.
Melbourne with the last three goals of the match after Dylan Moore kicked the opening goal in the first 15 seconds. Back in the middle, Gawn gets the clearance, sends it towards half forward. Chandler can't take it. Viney trying to burrow his way forward and knock the footy clear. Can't clear the congestion. Weddle tried to knock it out. Viney has another go. Hand pass out to Brayshaw. Links up with Rivers. Kicks laterally. Just the 15 to Langdon, who marks 60 metres out from goal. Thought about coming inboard. Now he swings onto his right. Kicks it inside 50. It won't get to Gawn. Melcham in front. Brings it down to the front. Hardwick for the Hawks. Back to Jarman Impey. Risky switching kick. Looking for Morrison. Up went Neil Pullen. Couldn't complete the mark. And it's knocked out of play by Sarong. And the umpire says throw it in. I think he might have been trying to rush through it behind. It went straight out of play. Umpire says throw it in up against the left behind post. Melbourne in attack at the punt road end, leading by 27 points.
They've grown a leg here, the D's. They attempt to put Hawthorn to bed. Nash at ground level, fighting hard. Tackled by Melksham. Petrarca went in after it. Handball towards the boundary. Sicily arrives first. He's taken over by Melksham. And Cohen's on the boundary.
Yeah, it looks like Will Day his day might be done. He's either got cramp or an upper leg issue. 50,142 people in the G for a Sunday.
Thanks, Koza. Good turnout for a Sunday afternoon in perfect conditions. Thrown in, Shaki's doing the ruck work here against Kajitsky. It spills down to the front. Viney's trying to get a disposal away. He's now lying flat on his back with Ward over the top. And Warple locking the footy in.
Just can't really get their hands on the footy at the moment, the Hawks.
Thrown up in the air. Shaki tries to drop it down for Kazitsky. It's knocked away by Morrison. Trying to cut past was Chandler. Could have almost been taken high, and Effecti was basically holding the footy. And the free kick will come back. And a Hawthorn free kick to be taken by Josh Ward in the right back pocket.
So Ward's been exceptionally quiet this afternoon. That's just his 7th disposal. As he goes across the ground to Sicily. He wants to get the footy to Nash, who had to pick it up on the bounce and handball over his shoulder. He did so pretty well to Sarong, but his kick is picked off by May, just forward of a wing for the D's. May's going to send Melbourne inside 50 again to a 2-on-1. Two big flyers. Melksham and Pickett both missed it. Blank at the back of the pack. Gathered the loose ball and sends it wide to McDonald. Hawks out of jail. He'll come up the line to Dylan Moore. Neat kick, hits him on the chest. Gets things moving immediately. Does Moore, kicks to a 2-on-2 at right half forward. Granger Barras there, as was McGuinness. Pounced on the loose footy. Handballed it off to Scrimshaw. Inside 50 go the Hawks, but it was a 3-on-1. Favouring the D's, and Stephen May floats across and takes the easy intercept.
Just no composure there from Scrimshaw, was there? He had a free man. Just needed to compose himself, lower his eyes a little bit and put it to space, but instead just blazed straight into the D's and Stephen May's hands.
Not sure I've ever seen two blokes try and take a hang off the same guy's back. Ever.
Lever from half back, kicks up towards Max Gawn, who floats in front of Reeves to take the mark, and the Melbourne fans love that. In game 200 for Maxi. Melbourne's premiership captain. He pokes his kick looking for Neil Bullen in game 150. Can't take the mark. Weddle knocks it down. Oliver's onto it. Hand pass looking for Brayshaw. Tries to charge past Long. In fact, he was tackled in the end by Huswaite. It spills out the way of Morrison. He gets around Clayton Oliver. Swings onto his right. He wants to switch it to centre half back. It's an awkward ball in which having enough time to gather is Long. He can feed the hand pass away to Sarong. The sub up the southern wing, and Nash takes the mark.
Right in front of Cozzy Pickett, who was one of the two flyers a little earlier. This is a slightly dangerous ball to centre half forward. It might work out for the Hawks. Ned Long took the footy, but he was immediately claimed by Angus Brayshaw. And the ball up 55 metres out from Hawthorn's goal. D's by 27 points. 21 minutes gone in this fourth and final term. Slapped away by Reeves. Finn McGuinness couldn't get the handle. Morrison could. Tackled by Brayshaw though, and he's been dispossessed, and he did not dispose of the ball legally, so it'll be a Melbourne free kick to Angus Brayshaw at true centre half back.
Kicks out towards Sparrow, who marks at left half back, and work it up to Hunter by foot. Takes the mark in front of the two benches. James Orwell with 28 disposals, Carl Amon with 26, while for the Demons, Rivers with 25, Viney with 23, and Christian Petrarca after a slow start up to 22. Hunter kicks towards half forward, flying from behind. That's a good mark taken by Josh Weddle.
He's a good young player, isn't he? Yeah. Josh Weddle.
Great athlete. You can see there as he spring.
Rising Star nominee in round 10, almost turned it over. As Hardwick takes the mark in front of Shaki. Works it back to Sarong and all the way out to McDonald, who marks in the left back pocket. Where do you think he'll end up playing most of his footy, Josh Weddle? Is he a half-backer? Could he be a midfielder, a wingman?
Oh, I think wing half-back, yeah. Oh.
Big fly, unable to come down with the mark was Denver Granger Barras, who flew high. Spills down the way of Finn McGuinness. It's coming back. It's going to be a free kick for in the back, and it's going Melbourne's way. Joel Smith will take it.
I think it's a perfect half-back flanker, Josh Weddle.
Explosive, likes to run with the footy. I think that's where he's played a lot of his junior stuff, but interesting to see what he grows up being, because you see him flicked around right throughout the career.
Rivers with ball in hand. He kicks inside 50. Sicily got in the way, couldn't quite take the mark. At ground level was Laurie. Got it to Shackey, who was immediately mobbed. Ward at ground level. Shoveled out a handball to Impey. Didn't quite know where to go. Tried to get to Nash, but his pocket was picked by Pickett. He somehow squeezed to kick to a dangerous spot. Petrarca direction, couldn't juggle it. Fell to Josh Ward, whose kick was smothered. Not out of danger yet here, the Hawks. Laurie emerges with the ball. Out to Reeves. He's tackled by Pickett as a free kick. The tackle might have just lingered on Connor Nash, who plays on by hand to Hardwick, who flares it wide to Weddle, who marks it right half back for the Hawks.
Been impressed by their pressure, the D's, especially in this last quarter. They've really lifted their rating in the defensive acts.
Josh Weddle long up the wing, another big fly in the pack. Granger Barras couldn't come down with it. Spills to the back, Gawn's hand pass to Joel Smith. It's kept in play by Moore for the moment. Morrison eventually tackled out. Excuse me, out of play by Max Gawn. A boundary throw in front of the Melbourne fans.
Deep into the final term here at the MCG. Melbourne lead by 27 points. They've kicked the last 3 goals of this game to take it away from the Hawks. Reeves off the restart, down to Warple, but he's grabbed in an armbar by Jack Viney. Wrestles him to the ground and forces another stoppage right on centre wing. Up it goes, Gawn slaps it down, free kick, and it will go to Gawn. Reeves just caught him over the shoulder. So Max Gawn in game 200 hasn't been his dominant self, but has been pretty solid this afternoon. He'll send his D's inside 50. At left half forward they go. Blank unable to juggle the mark. It came down to Sicily, who released aim on by hand, who goes all the way across the ground. That kick had real risk attached to it. Now Weddle's got a problem. He's got Pickett for company. Tracks it to the boundary. It goes over the line and he finds some sanctuary 40 metres around from Melbourne's right-hand behind post.
Demons by 27 points in a time on in the final term. Melbourne with Sydney at the SCG next Sunday. And Lance Franklin will bid farewell at half-time from the throw-in. Spills down the way of Huswaite, tackled by Oliver, no whistle. Spills down the way of Viney, tries to link up with Petrarca. A chance for the Hawks as Long gets the hand pass. Feeds it to Warple, kicks up the wing, Brewster's out position. And the mark is taken by McVie. Would you stay with this forward structure for Melbourne? Tom McDonald kicked 3 goals in the VFL.
Yeah, they haven't really, I suppose against the Hawthorn defence, they haven't had to really stretch them. You know, Melksham's looked dangerous at times, but against a better defence, obviously with some bigger players down there, I think, you know, you probably do need an extra tool.
Bailey Fritsch, of course, is the other player to come back in as Viney kicks inside 50. Weddle takes the intercepting mark for the Hawks. And a good final term in the left back pocket.
Short ball to McDonald. Still inside defensive 50. He goes wide all the way across to the left back pocket to Morrison, who kicks up the line to McGuinness. He marks in front of Chandler. He's at right half back for the Hawks. Short ball is good to Nash, who marks in front of Salem.
Just haven't been able to penetrate through the corridor at all. Hawthorn this second half. Melbourne have been so diligent on protecting the 45, just been having to go long or wide.
Nash goes up the line to right half forward, and once again Jake Lever, another intercept mark. They have not been able to get anything past him this afternoon. He's proven a real problem. Back up the line it comes. Impey sets himself underneath it, but taking a really strong mark was Chandler from 2 deep. Short ball inboard to Salem. Sting's gone out of this one. 26 and a half gone. 4th and final term. Melbourne lead by 27. Salem short ball to Rivers.
In Perth, it's a 9-point lead. Port Adelaide's way at half-time. We'll take you there for the second half. As Rivers loads up, sends it as long as he can. Looking for Big Max Gawn, who can't take the mark. Nash in front. Hand pass away to Weddle. Kicks the Hawks to half-back. Salem did enough to juggle the mark. If not, he got contact in the back, so Christian Salem having to wear a bit of force there, coming from Jacob Kaczynski late. And he has it at left half forward. He looks into the pocket. Clayton Oliver with a few metres on Connor Nash. He couldn't take the mark. He drops it And Sicily hand passes to Nash. Looked out of play there. What's the call? Hand passes to Warple, up to Morrison. Links up with Jarman MP. Hand pass away to Finn McGuinness, who did the job on Clayton Oliver. Salem off his chase. He chips the ball towards half forward and Ward. In fact, it's Kaczynski who takes the mark at right half forward. Into the pocket. Luke Bruce on the lead. He marks on his chest as the siren sounds. Luke Bruce after the full-time siren. With just the final margin to be decided. 45 metres out, deep in the right forward pocket. Luke Bruce with 2 goals so far this afternoon. As Bruce starts his approach, comes in, hard out on the right, he swings it across the face of goal. And no score to close out the match. No disaster for the Demons in the penultimate round. They book a top 4 spot. The Demons by 27 points over the Hawks.
It's a high-flying flag. It's the emblem for me and for you. It's the emblem of the team we love, the team of the red and the blue. Every heart beats true for the red and the blue, and we sing this song to you. Should old acquaintance be forgot, keep your eye on the red and the blue.
The Demons 13,987 to Hawthorn 9,660 in front of 50,142 fans. The Hawks led by 6 points at quarter time, Melbourne by 2 at half time. The Demons by 13 points at 3/4 time and 3 goals to 1 in the final term for Melbourne to run out 27-point winners. 3 goals to Jake Melcham, 2 to Joel Smith, 3 to Jacob Van Rooyen as well. Individuals to Petrarca, Brayshaw, Oliver, Sparrow and Chandler, while for the Hawks 3 to Connor McDonald, 2 to McDonald, 2 to Bruce and 2 to Huswaite. Individuals to Day, Granger, Barras for the Hawks. Melbourne winners by 27 points.
The team of the red and the blue. Every heart beats true for the red and the blue, and we sing this song to you. Should old acquaintance be forgot, keep your eye on the red and the blue.
The Demons with a 27-point win over the Hawks to book a double chance in September. The thoughts of Brett Delidio and Mark Murphy with you on ABC Sport.
Yeah, it was clinical in that second half, Murph, wasn't it? Their ability to shut down Hawthorn's ball movement and not allow them even to get past halfway a lot of the time. I think that's what ultimately set this game up for them. I just want to check the inside 50s in that last quarter. Yeah, 16-9 again to go with 18-7 or whatever it was in the third. So complete domination there in the second half. And that's ultimately the way the D's like to play, isn't it? Just get the centre bounce clearance, get it going forward, and then set up and patrol.
Set up the wall, essentially, isn't it?
But you could see here, as we're looking down, in a great position here, just their spacing with each other, their zone defence, their team defence is as good as anyone's in the competition. They work so well together. Their ability just to, know when it's a good time to hand over or a good time to come in and get involved. Jake Lever, Trent Rivers today, fantastic. Stephen May down there as well. They work so well, but it's the work of their rucks and mids ruck and mids that ultimately get to work. And it wasn't, Oliver's day today. He was well held. Petrarca spent a lot of time forward. So Viney got to work. He had the 25 today. Brayshaw did some good stuff in there. Tom Sparrow had a big third quarter.
Yeah, I thought it was very good in the third. And it was a pretty even spread, wasn't it? From all the Melbourne midfielders who... There wasn't one guy in that midfield for Melbourne today that you said, oh, he had a day out. He dominated the game. They all were very workmanlike in the way in which they went about it. You mentioned Oliver being pretty well held by McGuinness for those 3 quarters, but for whatever reason was let off the chain in that last quarter, and he was pretty impactful in that last Clayton Oliver. And Petrarca, as he did mention, spent most of his time forward. He certainly playing a role up there, which he's involved in most of their scorer involvement. So pretty even spread. They required some big performances in that last quarter from some of their stars, and Max I thought was terrific in that last quarter. And he had a lot of helpers with him, but I thought Lever was probably one of the better ones all day, along with Rivers as you said. But Hawthorn, I really enjoyed the way in which they played today. I think their second half they ran out of steam, didn't they? Melbourne really turned the screws on them in that second half and owned majority of the play. So they sort of did pretty well in the end, Hawthorn, to hang on within 27 points, because I think Melbourne certainly dominated that second half.
Oh, and what they lack is obviously that key target up forward. Mitch Lewis, the bloke we spoke to before the game, you know, him and maybe potentially another one down there just gives you someone else to kick to. It doesn't allow those three blokes that we've spoken about, or four guys that we've spoken about, to play the way they want to play. They really just play with disregard to their opponent, don't they?
Yeah.
Lever, May, Tomlinson, Rivers. They just do as they please because they know that they're going to get support from behind. They get caught out every now and again, but their ability just to back each other in and give support to each other is fantastic. But then again, missing Newcomb today really hurt them in and around the ball, and we saw the injection of Sicily, you know, in that start of that third to try and be another bigger body. But by the end of the day, you could see that they were just getting worn down by the bigger bodies and stronger bodies, guys that have been in there for a lot longer. You know, Warple's solidly set, but he's not a tall guy. Will Day's growing. He's only his first real year in there, but he went behind the footy a fair bit. Hopefully he's okay.
I really like their midfield mix going forward. Obviously, missing Newcomb today hurts them, but Warple, looks pretty confident in what he's about at the moment. He had a pretty sort of down year last year. I think he's been really important this year. Connor Nash, I thought, was pretty handy. Carl Amons, I think, a good addition, and I was actually pretty impressed by Ned Reeves in the ruck for most of the day. I thought he competed really strongly. He sort of probably lost a little bit of gas in that last quarter, and that's where Max gets it because he's such a aerobic beast and such a superstar. But their midfield mix going forward looks pretty exciting, I think, for the next 10 or 12 years.
So the Demons, for a third year, qualify for a qualifying final.
Yep.
Did you get chaired off in your 200th game? Who would have...
I did, yeah. I got chaired off. I'm sure you did too, Murph. But
I think we lost by 100 points to Hawthorn, so I was quickly to get off the field as quick, smart as I could.
Not quite the occasion for it.
Well, we won by 120-odd points or something. We played the Giants. I lucked in there, which was good. So I lapped it up. But it was up in Sydney, so not a lot of fans up there. And they misspelt my name on the banner too, which I was a bit filthy about.
Misspelled your name?
I still see the bloke who was in charge of it from time to time. He's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I can't believe I did that." It's like, mate.
Oh, he's getting chaired off.
He is going to get chaired off. So Jake Lever's there alongside
Melcham.
His good mate Jake Melcham, and the Melbourne captain Max Gawn is on the shoulders with a thumbs out as the Melbourne faithful cheer him in game 200. Alex Neobullen not far behind him in game 150, and George there to enjoy all the moments.
Yeah.
Max's young son as well.
George looks a bit overwhelmed. He was going through the banner as well. I'm not sure he was.
He's in tears.
He wasn't happy. He wasn't happy going through the banner, was he, earlier? But great pictures of something to look back on in years to come for
100%
the young fella.
There was a great one on Friday night of Will Hoskin-Elliott's young fella.
Yeah, he didn't want to borrow
it. He wasn't going through the banner.
That's fair.
So unfortunately, back to mum for him. So the Demons victorious here at the MCG, winning by 27 points. We'll take you across to Perth in around 8 minutes' time, 7 minutes' time, with the Port Adelaide Power leading by 9 points over the Dockers. But the Demons were able to do what they had to do today, and they are 4 points behind Port Adelaide in third position. So that basically means they'll be in fourth position and most likely face Collingwood in the first week of the finals. As the Demons make their way into their change rooms, I think we'll go down and join Ian Cohen.
Absolutely, and the skipper's got his young son on the shoulders as they start to form up the circle. Actually, there's kids everywhere, the Levers and the Melkshams, and it's a whole family affair, and obviously a genuine feeling of celebration for the Demons. And they took a while to break it open, but in the end they did. So they're forming up for the circle now, and then we're going to speak to Jake Melksham, who, of course, managed to dob quite a few today. What was it, 3 or 4 in the end, I think, for Melksham?
He kicked 3-4. He could have had an absolute day.
Here goes the song. Demons forming up now.
So plenty of smiles in the Melbourne rooms as they belt out the song winners by 27 points. We'll try and bring you a reaction with Ian Cohen as soon as Melbourne are ready to go. You got the votes for the ABC Footballer of the Year? Are you happy to rapid fire?
Yeah, no, I was tough today. No, I'm not confident because it wasn't a real standout, I don't think. And we've deliberated and gone with One vote, James Warple. I thought he was excellent today. He really tried to take the game to the opposition. A couple of big fend-offs. Won 15 contested balls himself. 11 ground ball gets, but had 10 clearances. Probably a little bit stiff Connor Nash in that mix as well. I thought he was pretty good. Just got him over the line with the 5 score involvements for Warple. 2 votes, I've gone for Trent Rivers. I thought he was fantastic today, and especially in that first half, really looked to go forward and take the game on. He showed some real dash off half-back, 9 intercept possessions, 6 inside 50s for a half-back. Fantastic as well, 10 marks to go with his 27, but 3. And this guy was really big all day. Really was the reason why that Hawthorn couldn't score, particularly in that second half. Jake Lever with 3 votes, 19 disposals, 13 marks, 10 intercept possessions, 7 marks off the opposition alone. So he was our 3 votes today. Thought he was very good.
3 to Lever, 2 to Rivers, 1 to James Warple in the ABC Footballer of the Year. Melbourne have just headed into a meeting, so that might we might have to just record a chat with Jake Melcham once they've come out of that, because we're going to take you to Perth for the final match of round 23, where the Port Adelaide Power leads 6-4-40 to the Dockers 4-7-31. So what are sort of your confidence levels around Melbourne? They've had their ups and downs throughout the season. They're inside the top 4, which gives them a chance to potentially take on Collingwood in what would be a big first week of the finals.
No, I'm really confident with where they're at the moment. I think particularly if they can get back Bailey Fritsch, which then probably pushes Petrarca out of that forward line back into the midfield. And, you know, at the expense probably of who would you say, a Chandler, maybe. He's done some good things too today. Neil Bullen's a lock in there. But that's only...
Laurie, he was one.
Laurie probably a late one in. But, yeah, I think, you know, they set up the ground so well, and they're always going to be in the game because they defend so well, and their midfield is a strength. Their back line is super solid. It's always going to be that question mark up front. And if you can bring in an extra key forward that can play alongside Van Rooyen, I think can give you a real pillar up there, someone that can crash a pack, take a big mark at times. We've seen that.
Which is probably McDonald.
I think it's McDonald, but
we didn't see him obviously today or wherever he played yesterday. But kicked the 3, I think, in the VFL, didn't he?
The VFL today.
I don't think it's Shaki, and I don't think it's Grundy, and I don't think it's Ben Brown. So
is it Joel Smith?
Wow, potentially if Petty. I don't think Petty's coming back, is he?
He's out for the year.
Out for the rest of the year. He is the answer, but it's I would suggest that it's probably Tom McDonald. I think he's a bigger version of Joel Smith.
Yeah,
but Joel Smith gives you probably more on the deck. So it's I'm glad I'm not in match committee, but I actually don't mind them when they've got Tomlinson down there as another key in their back line, which allows Rivers and Lever more so to play their offensive game and be those interceptors. You know, he can be the other lockdown with Stephen May, but the time will tell with that one.
What about Bailey Fritsch?
Yeah, so
he's the one that
too far away.
Who hopefully will be back before the end of the home and away season, but he might be first final. If they're sort of locked in top 4, they might decide there's no point playing in Sydney in the extra week.
Yeah.
And a thought or two on the Hawks. I mean, you were full of praise for Sam Mitchell and what he's been developing with this Hawthorn side. It feels like they're heading in the right direction. They've got the Fremantle Dockers here at the MCG on Saturday afternoon, so a chance to try and finish on a high. But 7 wins and 15 losses this season. It feels like they're heading in the right direction. They certainly challenged Melbourne for large parts of the match.
I think they've had a good year, Hawthorn. I've been impressed by the way in which they've played, especially in the last 12 weeks. Their first part of the season, they looked a long way off it, but they've improved at a rapid rate. They've found some players. I like the way in which they go about it. They just probably could ill afford to miss John Newcomb today, who was best on last week and pretty instrumental in their midfield. So you lose a real A-grader in your midfield when you are a young side. It does hurt you more than what other sides would cop. But yeah, I like the way in which Hawthorn go about it. I think they've got some really talented youngsters amongst their list, and they're certainly a side if you're a player who's looking for a new home that you'd be pretty happy to go to, especially if you're a forward.
Yeah, I think that's what they need, isn't it?
Yeah.
They need another key forward to go alongside Mitchie Lewis. And other than that, they're pretty well. They're pretty good across the ground, but they're going to take time because they've got kids that are playing those roles, and it's just you're going to have to be patient, and you're going to have some good wins, but you're going to have some times when you're down a little bit as well. So, yeah, they're building and going a long way towards what Sam Mitchell told us he would be. This time last year.
Henry Hustwaite, 2 goals on debut.
Fantastic.
Not a bad start, so he'd be hopeful of certainly keeping his spot for the last round of the home and away season.
Yeah, you'd like to think so. I think he
kick
did
2.
enough. He looked comfortable out there. I thought he certainly didn't look out of place, that's for sure, and that's what you want for a young guy coming in to play their game.
All right, thanks, Lids. Thanks, Murph, for your
Pleasure.
work today. Look forward to hearing you on Corbin and Ben during the week. Ian Cohen's going to record an interview down in the rooms. Thanks, Chris. Great to have your company across the weekend.
Thanks, Clinchy. Great to be here. Good fun.
Safe travels back to Tassie. Thanks to Stuart Baker and to Brett Sprigg back in the studio. Melbourne lock in a top 4 finish with a 27-point victory over the Hawks here at the MCG. We'll now take you to Perth Stadium to join our commentary team, Clint Weldon and Mitch Turner, alongside Sharad Wellingham and Cara Antonio, with a Cash Fodder on the boundary. And don't forget the Women's World Cup final tonight. The best place to find it, of course, is on ABC Sport. On behalf of the team, signing off from the MCG, enjoy your night.